What's up, y'all? It's TTC, aka the ThunderConductor, and we back for another YouTube video and Twitch stream. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. If you're on Twitch, make sure you follow and ring the bell. We do this once on YouTube and every other week on Twitch. I got a question for y'all. What is your favorite big mana commander in the post-ban cEDH meta? We gonna have some people who say Itali, come on, all day. I know we lost Dockside, but we still got, what is it, Mind Goblin, the sticker goblin, come on, like that thing is fun. And you know, even though I'm not the hugest fan of having to roll for stickers every game, it still makes Itali a crazy viable commander. What about Tivit? Though it may not be the highest CMC commander, it is something that's just really easy to combo with. Tivit times Tivit just gets the job done, nice and simple. But what about Atraxa? Come on, 7 mana, infinite flickers, basically draw your entire and cast your entire library. It's so many possibilities and so many fun things you can do with that. But I want to talk about something different today. I want to talk about something that takes all those commanders and just blows them out the water just with the CMC alone. I want to talk about the Simic, the Pride of Whole Clade. This is a legendary creature, crocodile, elk, turtle, that says this spell costs X less to cast, where X is the total toughness of creatures you control. It has Defender and is a 2/15 notably, and it has an amazing activated ability that says 2 and 2 blue. Until end of turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player. Draw cards equal to its toughness and can attack as though it didn't have Defender. Now, if you all saw the channel before, we had a guest come, we had one of our patrons play it, and it fucking just wreaked havoc at the table. But today, I wanted to bring the original creator of this list, Mr. K, to the chat, and I just wanted to have him come on in, and I want to say, what's up, brother?
Yo, what's up, my man?
What's up, brother? How you doing? How you doing?
Not bad, not bad. Having a good day, for the most part.
I love to hear that, for sure, man. Well, man, you've built a monstrosity of a list, but before we can get to the list, I just want to learn more about you. Could you please tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got into cEDH, and then how you stumbled upon this amazing commander?
I mean, I'll honestly just say how I stumbled on the commander. The commander was a commander I enjoyed playing pre-Dockside era, but lost very often with because I would poop out my hand, which would consist of many 0-drop artifacts and like notably Shield Sphere. And then Dockside would land and they'd be like, I'm gonna win now. I'm like, yeah, you are. I got no response. Turn. But like I got into cEDH honestly by like one of my best, like really good friend, really good friend.
Yeah.
Because I just enjoyed playing janky, you know, essentially janky commander, but I did enjoy winning.
Yeah, I hear you.
So then I started, like, you know, like there's nothing wrong with winning, but obviously in cEDH it's more, there's more nuances to how you win. You know, there are nuances to how you win. It's not just Thassadikon, even though that is the best win in the meta. And honestly, I always just like doing oddball things. So here we go at 11 to drop Simic commander that I was like, I want to play this, while everybody was saying you should play Kinnan. I was like, no, like I don't want to play Kinnan. I'm just like, I don't want to look at a hand where it's just ramp.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I can get a Kinnan activation. Like, and there's also no room to politic when you play against Kinnan. It's like, you better kill Kinnan. I mean,
yeah, you got to be a hell of a politicker when you play Kinnan. Like, I'm talking about the hell, because when I see Kinnan at the table, everyone, it's not just me, everyone is like, whether either you hate the deck, as in like you hate on the deck and you put a lot of pressure on it, or you just over respect the deck, where you don't give them an inch to push forward, or you just don't know any better and you end up get, steamrolled by it. But it's a really tough deck to play because you do need great politics to play it. And yeah, but keep going, brother. I'm listening.
Yeah. But overall, my first deck was mono green. I played Marwyn, which was fine. And then I quickly converted to Selvala. Then after that, I quickly converted to Yisan, which was fine. They were all fine. But I also play with a play group that very much says, you're playing mono green. You drawing cards does not help us in the slightest. Because me drawing cards is literally just me trying in the game. Like I can't do anything when there's I can't do anything other than endurance. I'm like, yay. Which is a phenomenal interaction piece, I might add. I love endurance. But when it's the only thing that you can say, don't worry guys, draw me cards, like I got this. You're like, you know, very quickly I decided after those 3 mono green decks, I was like, I'm gonna play what was it? I played Malcolm Kedis, which is fun.
Okay.
Because I got to play the big dumb stuff that, you know, any janky commander player likes to play. Because even in this list, I have some janky things that are just fun, but they work with the commander because they're like, I'm going to become a 25-25. I'm like, yeah, you are. All I need to do is put mana to bring you. Oh yeah, I'm good. But like the deck was like again, Kedis, Malcolm. It was fun because I got to play the big dumb things, but in my head, like the big dumb things didn't matter. At the end of the day, all the person had to do was stop Glinthorn, Buccaneer, and Malcolm. Yeah. And then it's like you're in for a bad time, you know?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
And like it was an off meta deck, which still had some, you know, it still had some legs under it. But I mean, especially after Dockside got banned, then it just like it didn't get crippled, but it did get hurt. Like when I got on it, I copied and pasted my friend's deck list, and he was like, "You always want a turn 1 Malcolm. Turn 2 is too late." Like so it's like, all right, so I'm essentially mulliganing for. I can't even remember anymore, but you're at least mulliganing for a Mana Crypt or a JLo, you know, with a land drop. And then you're aiming for a turn 2 Kedis to have like 5 treasures essentially. Right. And it's like, all right, it's kind of boring. Like the treasure development was awesome, but like, you know, I don't know. I just wasn't like I enjoyed it because it was an easy win line of Glinthorn and Malcolm. Yes. But it was just, I don't know. I didn't adore it. And then once basically all the bans happened, I was like, wait, I can play Pride. Oh my god. And then of course they notably brought out very notably they brought out Mossborn Hydra and the Scythe Cat Cub. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm testing out the Mossborn because the biggest I've gotten it to is like a 16-16, but then stuff goes south. The Mossborn is very much test card, but Scythe Cat is really good in this deck. Gotcha. You know, for obvious reasons. But I mean, even when I first originally made Pride, they didn't have Fanatic of Ronus, which in the tournament where I top 16, like it was an MVP. I was like, this thing is never gonna trigger Ferocious, and then I was like, oh, here's the Managorger Hydra. This thing very, you know, that makes 4, you know, like very easily does the thing I want it to do.
100%.
Yeah, and like since that tournament, I've altered the list a lot. I still going through like, you know, whatchamacallit, edits. Yeah. But that's just the fun of the deck. Like even in the Discord that me and this other guy created for Pride, like everybody's list is so different from mine, and I'm like, oh, I wonder why you added that card. I wonder why you added that card. And some people are very much trying to turbo out Pride. Other people are just like, oh, when he comes out, he comes out. Yeah. All I care about in my list essentially is to get at least one big butt out somewhat early by turn 1, turn 2, that either slows down the game or acts as a protection piece, or I want a turn 2 draw engine.
I hear that.
The turn 2 draw engine is for the most part, it's the only reason I play Burial Druid. Because although it's the worst god, you know, it's the worst elf, probably very close to Arbor Elf, because I've had dead Arbor Elf in before. And it's just like, well, I want my turn 2 Rhystic Study, or my turn 2, you know, I want my turn 2 One Ring, or something that draws me cards. Yes. Like Pride only connects when people are like just essentially that, like there are decks that enjoy swinging out or enjoy being tapped out. Notably Magda, notably
Tymna variants at times.
Tymna variants. There are a lot of decks that are just like, oh, okay, and then they read your commander and then they're like, oh, it's either they think it's only Pride that can connect, or yeah, there's a couple different reasons why people are like, oh my god, and I'm like, yeah, it's okay, don't worry, it's Simic. I'm not going to be winning off of this swing, like, unless effectively, like, I draw into my Gaia's Cradle, which is like, you know, it's the ritual in the deck, right? Like,
right.
But other than that, it's I draw a massive ton of cards. The deck, I like to think, technically folds to Heuristic Study, because after I draw 15, I'm usually, especially on the first swing, I'm usually tapped out.
Yeah.
But I can definitely play a land drop after that. But I can't play my things because there's a Heuristic Study. I've lost many times to a Heuristic Study and a Smothering Tithe.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun deck. Like, it's literally just a fun deck, honestly.
No, 100%. I love the excitement that you have behind your voice. I think that's the reason why I do the meta breaking the meta series, and why I personally like don't play a lot of meta decks, because, you know, it can be a little like, I want to win, and in addition, I want to enjoy the process of winning the game. And if you're saying the only way I can do that is with Blue Farm, or if I have to play only the best Simic deck ever since Nadu got the Banhammer, we got, you know, Kinnan, and these are interesting decks. Like, I'm not going to like knock them in all the other meta decks. They're interesting to certain people. However, like, if you have the hunger to be a brewer, it's real. Like, it's just like, yo, like, I understand I'm supposed to do this, but fuck that. I'm about to do what I want to do. Like, I want to brew how I want to brew, and I want to win how I want to win. And I've always found that being the brewer, a lot of times, yes, there's brewer's advantage, but it makes you a better pilot a lot of times, because you have to get creative in how you win and how you go about winning, how you communicate with people. It makes you a better politicker. It makes you just like, there's so many skills you get by just not playing a deck that is just like, people may get the gist of what it does, or they may have their assumptions, but it just hits differently when it's just like, nah, like, how the heck did he just draw 25 cards on turn 3 or 4, and then win or not, like, we're fucked, guys. Like, we're not in a good position. And
like the table, I mean, drawing 15 is obviously like the base of this deck. It's just, you know, but the height of it is like in the tournament where Comedian talked about my deck list. He literally said he drew 50 cards. I drew 50 cards because there was a Managorger Hydra, and there was a Forgotten Ancient that I moved 20 +1/+1 counters to my Managorger.
Oh my God.
And I had a Sylvan Safekeeper for protection. I had everything. I had everything. And I'm like, like, it's you know, like, people are like, I've had people be under the impression I try to kill people with my deck. I'm like, no, I just try to connect with Pride or something that draws me cards. It just so happens that this Managorger is a 2020.
like this is just a byproduct, guys. You're thinking too hard about it.
Yeah, it's literally just a byproduct. If Managorger said he gets a +1/+0 counter, like, then I'd be like, all right, it's probably not going to make it in the deck.
Right.
The fact that it's arguably the best political piece in this deck, because like, I've told people, hey, I want to swing this Managorger over at Rogside to reduce their life total. Can I connect with you with Pride? And they're like, what's the alternative? I'm like, well, if I swing the Managorger at you, it's going to deal you 15 points of damage, and I'm going to draw 15 anyway. And they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah. Like, so, you know, like, that's literally the best political piece in this deck, because, like, then everybody's under the impression I'm gonna start threatening this person. I'm like, no, not really. Like, you know, like, there's interaction in the meta that's like, you know, the cards in my hand are the interaction. There's also just the you know, there's your mouth. You can talk to people.
100%.
Listen, there's a big difference between an Adnod that draws this person 15, however many cards, or a Necro, and there's a big difference between Simic drawing 15 cards.
100%.
Like,
100%.
And there you know, there's the two blue pips with Pride activation are a little bit, like, they're the biggest hindrance. If Pride was literally just three generic and a blue, I would like, oh my god.
You
Like,
talk
I
about
would
Faerie
not
Mastermind numbers now.
yeah. Um, but like it's just the 2 blue pips in its activation cost is like it's just the thing that kicks it in the butt the biggest.
Yeah.
Because green is the easiest thing that the deck produces. And awkwardly enough, I run into a lot of mana producing problems in the deck.
Yeah.
Not from because of lack of mana dork, because obviously that's not an issue, but like drawing my first 7, usually you're looking for like a land and probably another land.
Ooh, wait, actually, oh, hold on. You give the people too much. Hold on. No, you good. I want to get all the way into this deck, but before I do, I have one thing to say to the folks. If you're looking for more ways to support the show, we have a plethora. Starting off with our ThunderConductor community, please join us. It's free to join. It's on Discord. We have fun jamming games. We talk decks. We check out the spoilers. And we have a blast. But if you want some extra perks like playing on our live streams, shoutouts on our YouTube videos and our streams, and free proxies and discount codes, please check out the link in the bio to join our Thunder Legion Patreon community. These guys are awesome, and I want to give a huge shout out to our Mono Red patrons, Wavy Ashira, Bissy Baxon, The Prater, B-Rag, and Sir Trekkie. These guys rock, and they keep the lights on in a way that they could not imagine. And last but not least, if none of that tickles your fancy, I want you to check out the link in the bio to buy me a coffee because it keeps me up and keeps the lights on. And lastly, I wanted to say, if you're not watching live with us and you're on YouTube, I recommend that you increase the playback speed to 1.5x for the best viewing experience. But with that said, come on, dude, you were getting into it, but I just wanted to like talk about like the strategy and the gameplays towards the win. And you already talked about that this is like the deck archetype, but can you tell us a little bit about from the mulligan to the winning turn?
You said mulligan to winning?
Yeah, can you just tell us about the game plan that you usually take to get towards a win, like from the mulligan to the winning turn? Got
you. I mean, mulligans are, like I said, awkwardly enough, the mulligans are the most annoying thing with the deck, because ideally, I mean, I'm on 30 lands, which literally shouldn't mean I should ever have mana problems. But of those 30 lands, like 6 of them are like 4 of them are interaction lands, essentially, between Talon Gates of Madara, Otawara, Boseiju, and where's the other one? No, it's only those 3. My bad, only those 3. So then you're like, okay, great. Now, as far as mulliganing is concerned, ideally, mulligans can slightly change. I would love nothing more than a hand with a Mossborn Hydra, exploration, fetch land. I would love that. That has never happened thus far, because that Mossborn Hydra will be huge, and I will not be missing my land drops, obviously, if I get that kind of hand.
100%. So, Kay, you were talking to us about mulligans and your mulligan decisions and things that you're looking for in the perfect scenario and what you mostly like, what you'll settle for in all the other situations. Keep going, brother.
Things I would settle for, turn 1 Rhystic Remora with like literally nothing but lands in my hand. Like I said, I've chilled with like a Mystic Remora going to turn 4, having nothing, and then all of a sudden you poop out like a Shield Sphere, you start pooping out these like high toughness creatures, and then the following turn is like where obviously you haven't missed a land drop most likely because of a Mystic Remora. And then you're just like, yeah, nobody's gonna hit me the rest of the game because now I have big butts, I have my commander, I have other things, you know, for the most part.
Yes.
I do love, like, I would keep anything with like 2 lands, a Managorger, and like a Rhystic Study.
Okay.
Ledger Shredder is more so of a long-term game plan. I would love to be able to cast Ledger Shredder like turn 2 and then just be like Mana Rock of some sorts to get a Ledger Shredder trigger. But like Ledger Shredder hasn't really done that much. He's just a really good thing over the course of the long game that you can put onto the battlefield early game that all of a sudden is a 5/8, and then you can if nobody's willing to let you hit with Pride, like you can still swing with Ledger Shredder and draw 8 cards.
100%.
Like
100%. That makes sense.
4 mana for 8 cards. Like, I'm not complaining, because what chances are I'm going to draw into the land I'll be playing for that turn.
Right. That makes sense.
Runic Armasaur is a card I'm testing. If I can get a turn 2 Runic Armasaur, like I think that's really good. That's pod dependent. Like if you start seeing Timna Thrash, if you start seeing, I think a lot of people are starting to play Glarb. So like there's a card draw, there's another card draw. Like, you know, I wanted to do Verity Circle and I play tested it for a bit, but not having the body was a little bit annoying. And it wasn't like a card that was easily tutored for.
I definitely hear you there, yeah. I definitely hear you there.
And like Runic Armasaur, just like it's a 2/5. Like it's still a big butt.
And it fits the synergy of the list as well. So that makes a lot of sense, brother. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I would keep a hand. I mean, this is all again pod dependent. I would keep a turn 1 Mold Adder. Just be like, oh yeah, like I'm not joking. Like I've gotten my Mold Adder to be a 10/10, and they're like, oh. And I'm like, it's not as if it's just going to stay there to be a blocker. Over the course of the game, I'm probably going to swing that Mold Adder at one person and one person alone. And if they want to put their whatever in front of it, I'm like, sure, like I don't care. And if you don't want to block it, I just instant speed target Pride with it, and I draw, 8-10 cards, whatever it is.
100%.
And then like I mean, I don't think there's a 100% ideal like what I'm trying to mulligan for. Just because the deck, like I will say that the deck preferably wants to do the long game plan. Like the deck really doesn't win any time before turn 4.
Gotcha.
And I mean, you can check out all the removal and interaction pieces, and like usually I could probably sit on one piece of interaction, but I'm not on Force of Will, I'm not on Force of Negation, because there's just a blue thing to it, especially when I want like things like I'm on whatchamacallit, Fierce Guardianship, even though, like I said, like I'm not trying to pump out, I'm not trying to pump out Pride.
Right.
Like I can chill for a couple of turns and then just hard cast a Fierce Guardianship. Like that's not bad. It's not something I want to do against Roxai.
Yeah, that was one of the things I was definitely going to ask about. Like those, what type of like hands do you keep in those type of tough turbo matchups where it's like, okay, yeah, like we talk about like getting that turn 1 to turn 2 fish ristic down, but are there any like, is there like a number of interaction pieces that you look for? Is it just like, one will get the job done? It got to be a team effort with the table and then you leverage your politicking, or is it, do you feel like you ever take the full accountability? Like I need to have at least 2 pieces of interaction or this Roxai is going to beat me. Like, since we are looking a little bit more of the mid game.
Like this is again the political aspect of the deck, and this is why I enjoy Commander, because I've literally sat down against a Roxai player, and I'm like talking to the whole table, guys, are we playing responsibly? If the table doesn't want to run responsibly, I'm like, all right, I'll just like I haven't physically scooped, but in my mind I have scooped. Like I'm like, all right, like I guess I'm gonna feed this fish. Like I'm not gonna win regardless. Might as well pray that they're gonna wheel. And have these things out. But I'm honestly, like most people when I play, they play very responsibly around Roxai.
100%. I've experienced that as well.
Yeah. I probably regretted not playing responsibly once against an Inala player. I probably could have fed him a card and my whole game plan was going to be completely changed.
Yeah.
But you live and you learn.
100%. With that, it actually go ahead, brother. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's actually just an interesting aspect. And like the next thing I want to ask you, like when we think about these matchups, a lot of times we have to look at ourselves, like what are our strengths and what are our weaknesses? And what do you think the Pride of Whole Clade's strengths and weaknesses are? And I'm pretty sure some of them may actually come up with the certain matchups you may have, but I just want to hear, like, talk to me about that, brother.
I mean, strengths. You get to play a Managorger Hydra. You get to threaten life pools by like turn 5, and you definitely get to get Roxai off of their Necro and Adnal's plan very early. Otherwise, you're literally saying, "I'm gonna kill you." That's the political power of the deck. Like, assuming you have the pieces already, right?
Right.
And like I said, like I can't stress the importance of Managorger. Like it's a very good card. And I for the most part protect it either through political means, or like the table loves it when I swing at Rockside with Managorger, like,
all day, every day, of course.
But then you talk about the political aspect of either I'm gonna swing at Pride with you so I can swing this Managorger at him, but I want to draw 15 cards. Or if they rightfully so should be like, no, I don't want you drawing those cards. I swing the Managorger, and I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Right. But then I've seen Rockside players literally say, you can draw 15 cards, I won't block you. Just don't swing the Managorger. I'm like, you're definitely not gonna win now. You just don't know that you're not gonna win, but you're not gonna win.
I hear that. I hear that.
But the strengths of the deck are really just the political aspect of it. Because like I said, like at the end of the day, cEDH players hate it. I like to think they hate seeing when the other player wins. The deck is very difficult to win with. Like the deck's win con is, at least in my list, I mean, sure, you can use Pride of the Whole Clade as a win con because you can buff all your creatures and then swing. But realistically, how you're drawing cards with Pride is going post combat. Like there's no if, ands, or buts about it. So the main win con in the deck is Walking Ballista.
100%. I definitely hear you there, yeah.
And like there are ways to recur Walking Ballista, but like one time I got hit with a Ragavan and my Walking Ballista was gone, and I'm like, oh no, sad days. And then even then the table was still like, we gotta stop him. I'm like, guys, I have been hosed. I can only win pre-combat now, and you're afraid of all these cards I have in my hand, but like, I'm about to discard all of them to hand size. Like,
sure, yeah.
I honestly can't stress it enough. Even in my early iterations, it was really difficult to, let's just say, tutor for it after I connected and I didn't have it in my hand. For that reason, I started putting I put in a couple more tutors in the deck to get me to my where the heck is he? Duskwatch Recruiter.
Got you.
Which effectively acts as a Thrasios to put the Walking Ballista in my hand. Because there are other shenanigans you can do. You can use your Agatha Soul Cauldron to target if Walking Ballista is in your bin or preferably in somebody else's bin, I guess. Right. Then all of a sudden you give your Managorger this ability, and they're like, oh. I'm like, yeah, none of you are gonna win, and if you put a win on the stack, I'm gonna kill you. Right. I hear you. And yeah, that's like, there are layers to the deck, but the final win con end result is a Walking Ballista.
Got you. And so leaning on that strength of politics, and though we do, I'll bring that up a little bit more, but though we do have like the bottleneck being the weakness is if we lose Walking Ballista, like, we're just a wee bit fucked, but but the thing is though, we still have contingencies. Like I think it's Soul Cauldron, because Walking Ballista this is not the only Walking Ballista list. It is used in other lists, and so navigating that can be like an interesting thing. And so I do have some more questions for you that a bit later, but I want to ask you next a little bit about your tournament experience, because recently, if not a little bit less than a month ago, we had a placement. So I just want to ask you a little bit about that, brother. Talk to me.
We're talking about my placement. Okay.
Oh, 100%, brother. No one else.
Listen, my friends literally told me there was a Pride of the Whole Clade deck that topped in like a 5-person tournament, and it won. And I was like, oh, maybe, I don't know. So honestly, as far as the tournament is concerned, first 2 games were god awful. Like it was horrible. Like I had to mulligan down to like 4 cards in each of my first 2 games, and I was like, I'm out of this game. Like the deck can kind of mulligan, but then you're somewhat hoping to literally just hit your land drops every single turn. And that's more so like I hope in these 30 lands that I run, that I'm just playing these Talon Gates, Otawara, Basalt, like you're playing these as lands, which you ideally don't want to do. From Talon Gates, I guess.
Got you.
But then the following two games, awkwardly enough, like the games that I won were against meta decks. Like it was against Yuriko, it was against Sisei's, it was against like the decks that people were, like were and should be afraid of. But the decks that were stopping me were like I will never forget this. It was an Azorius deck. It was Chun-Li. And I was like, I'm just trying to connect with this. Let me do it. And he was like, no, I'm the source of Plowshare. I'm like, yeah, you should. You're like, there's no reason you shouldn't. But like, it was the off-meta decks that kept stopping me from everything I wanted to do. Whereas the meta deck, and to be noted, both of those games that I won, it was because I had a turn 2 Managorger and nobody was doing anything to stop it. I'm like, all right, we're gonna chill. Like, right. And then like that was literally both games. Like I convinced essentially, and it was funny because one of my pods that I won, it was with one of my friends who was playing Roxy at the tournament, and I was like, guys, don't worry, everything is fine. And then like it was just the hands were perfect for the pods I was playing in. Like that's all I can honestly say. I was player 2 in both of those pods. One, the Roxy deck, I resolved a turn. It might have not been a turn 2 Managorger, but it was Managorger was on the field by turn 4. And awkwardly enough, even if you play him late game and it gets to your turn, the more mana people have, the more spells are going to cost. This Managorger is going to be big by my turn, regardless. 100%. What else? I resolved a turn 1. Whatchamacallit? Where are you? Because I keep it's effectively a 0/4 Grafdigger's Cage. Soulless Jailer.
Yeah, Soulless Jailer. Yeah.
Soulless Jailer. And so in the last pod before we cut Swiss, it was a Chisgoria player, which basically just says my commander swings and I cast stuff from exile. Soulless Jailer was like, you're not going to cast stuff. And I convinced him to not swing at me, to swing at the Roxy player. Because although I was messing, like, I was effectively shutting off his deck because he decided to turn 1 at Chisgoria, but he cracked an LED to do it. So he was playing with no hand, and I was like, I'm so sorry, bud. He did that first swing. He pitched away a 1 ring. I was like, I'm so sorry. I felt bad for him.
I'm so sorry for him as well. Frick, that's crazy. No.
And then it just got to the point where I told him, if you swing at me with Chisgoria, I'm gonna swing at you with this Managorger Hydra. And he was like, damn. Right. And I was like, yeah, my bad, bud, but this is the political power I have now that I have a 20/20 on my field.
Yeah, 100%. That makes sense.
Yeah. And then even in that game, like I convinced the dude to, like, he had a bounce effect. He realistically he should have bounced my Managorger, but he had the artifact Urza plays where I think you sacrifice it or you tap it and bounce. I honestly don't remember, but he had the ability to bounce my Managorger Hydra while I was casting a Sylvan Safekeeper.
That's an interesting choice not to do that.
Yeah, but his reasoning was, he was like, well, I don't want you to draw cards. I'm like, I have Pride of the Whole Clade on the battlefield. I'm going to draw 15 regardless because this Chisgoria player doesn't have a blocker.
100%, yeah.
So I politics him. I was like, I'll swing this Managorger at Roxy if you just let me have the Managorger. I'm gonna connect with regardless.
All right, I gotta say this. When it comes to politicking, y'all, you're doing, like, hold on. That first I have to give Kate his flowers. You did amazing politicking. For the audience, I understand it seems like a casual card, but in cEDH, when there's so many spells that getting cast, if you can exile or remove that Managorger Hydra, please do so. Because I mean, no, I gotta say this because, like, you're bringing up so many amazing examples of, like, oh yeah, and then they tried to do this and I did this, and they tried to do this, I do this, and it just turns into this whole thing of, like, guys, like, this is like we're acting like we don't play swords, like we don't play what's it called? Like we don't play like Chain of Vapor or Into the Flood, or all these different things to reset it like at a timely manner. And I think that like it's tough because when you think about what about all the other cEDH combos and the other things that we're doing that we want to save our interaction for? Sometimes they end up sleeping on something just so as powerful as a Managorger Hydra, especially in this list. You know, like it's one thing just to play it like for memes. It's another thing where it like layers where I'm not just beating in your face, I'm also drawing X cards equal to the toughness. And that's where like the power of that card in this list, where I experienced when Wavy Ashira was playing, I was like, oh, this is the best Managorger Hydra deck I've ever seen in my fucking life. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not just afraid about getting my face beat in. I'm scared about the fact that you're gonna draw a shit ton of cards and then I can't even remove the shit beat in my face after dealing with whatever you deal with. So for, you know, lesson to the audience: if you see a Managorger Hydra on board, whether it's pro home Clade or not, and they start saying, well, I won't swing at you, well, let's just take it out the equation. Swords to Plowshare. It's done. Gain 20 life. Gain 20 life. There you go.
Well, but here's the thing. I'm like, I guess it's a pilot thing, because I mean, even in the game that you guys played against with Wavy, like after I saw the game, I was like, honestly, man, you could have politicked way more.
Right.
Like, my question is, are you gonna stop the Managorger Hydra from dealing damage to somebody, or are you gonna stop Pride from drawing me 15 cards? Like, what are you gonna use your Swords to Plowshare on? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I like
there's a line, but I hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying. Yeah. And like, if you want to source the Plowshare my commander, like go ahead. I'm gonna recast it for 1 mana. Yeah. I think the Managorger Hydra is the move. Yeah.
Like for the long game plan, absolutely it is the move.
100%.
Which again, like it's kind of why I tend to run like decent chunk of interaction, like Legolas's quick reflex is MVP.
100%.
Sylvan Safekeeper, obviously very good. Spellskite, very good.
100%. Oh, we gotta save it. You get ahead. Before we get into the interaction suite, I did want to close out and hear any more info on just your tournament experience. Like, was there anything else that notably that happened within your last tournament experience that you want to share with the audience?
Last tournament experience, honestly, last tournament was god awful.
Oh god.
I'm not even joking with you. Every single game, it was like I was praying to get a land in my hand.
Wow.
Like, I was like, what the heck is and I'm not even joking with you. Recently I played with my friend's Tivit deck, and I was like, how many lands do you run in here? And he was like, oh, about 26, 27. I'm like, what the flying fudge? Almost every hand was 2 lands with something to do with those 2 lands. And I'm here like 30, like I said, and it's like, where are my lands? And if it's and awkwardly enough, like, I like to think I run a decent chunk of fetch lands, as many as I can, but it's like every single hand is like, oh, we're gonna give you the snow-covered island with these 3 elves, and I'm like,
right.
Like, opening hand will be a Nykthos. Opening hand will be an Ancient Tomb. Opening hand will be like a Beseju, Otawara, like Talon Gates. And it's like, these aren't the lands I need in my hand.
Gotcha.
Like, opening hand, you are not looking for a Hedge Maze in your hand. You are not looking for an Ancient Tomb. Like, there are things that you are notably not looking for. Like, versus things that like you asked before, like what is the hand that you're looking for? It's more so like, what is the hand you're not looking for?
I hear you.
As long as you have a forest, an elf, another land in your hand, like, the game plan does progress. But it's like, why the heck am I getting all these colorless mana sort lands? It's more so about the land.
Got you.
One in your hand, that's a god awful land to have in your opening hand. But like, Shifting Woodlands is very powerful.
Gotcha.
These are, like, in my head, these are cards that need to be run in the deck.
Right.
Otherwise, what, you're just gonna flip them for basic lands that I Shifting Woodlands has won me many games.
Right, 100%. Yeah, it was part of Wavy's win. Once there was like a small hiccup within the line he pushed, he literally was able to Shifting Woodlands for the win right after that. It was impeccable. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. And you know, I'll say this: it happens to the best of us. Sometimes the terms can go to the optimal place, but you know, I think what comes to my head in that type of situation, it may just be a little more color fixing. Like, I think you've built such a unique build that it takes a unique land base, and as you've been saying, as you said earlier, deck is still within evolution, and like, as you all see, if you're interested, just keep, like, I just say just keep watching him. Keep watching K and keep watching what he does. You know what I'm saying? He's already placed before, showing the potential of the deck. So now it's just like, how do we take that potential from a spike on the map to a consistency on the map? You know what I'm saying? And that is something that I believe it has potential, especially because I love your level of politicking. You know, not a lot of folks don't understand the power of politicking, but it's something that that you've shown some skill towards. But I did want to ask next, I want to just talk on win cons, because you told us about a great tournament experience. That, once again, what placement did you get in that tournament again?
I think I'll be completely honest.
In the one you did well in the 16th, like when you were in the top 16.
I think I was in the top 6.
Oh, top 6. Okay, all right. So okay. So you better check me. Okay. Well,
I'm like, it feels like such a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like in the tournament in Rip and Ship, I got into the top 16 and then lost at the top 16 for going into final pod.
Got you.
I'll be completely. I think I was around 6th, 7th. Yeah. Like around there. Yeah.
I got you. Okay. Well, then please, I want to hear about these win cons that got you to that top 16. So can you touched on it briefly earlier, but could you just talk to me about, it sounds like we're doing infinite mana into Walking Ballista, but can you talk to me about the infinite mana lines we're using, and also of course we have the outlet for Walking Ballista, but just talk to me about that, brother.
Yeah. So I mean, that's like probably the most simplistic part of the deck and probably the weakest part of the deck. The infinite mana lines are Devoted Druid, Machine God's Effigy. Obviously there's an ideal world where you can Machine God somebody else's Devoted Druid, but that hasn't happened so far. And then Hullbreak of Horror with any mana positive rock.
Gotcha.
That will eventually lead to, you know, like ideally that will lead to you producing colored mana, or obviously if you have Walking Ballista in your hand, then it doesn't matter. Right. But I've done pretty stupid shenanigan type stuff. But for the most part, obviously the deck is very mana hungry in order to get to its win con. And then once you activate Pride, like bare minimum, you're doing a Pride activation, you're doing a Devoted Druid, and then you're doing a Machine God's Effigy that takes up like 10 mana. That's a lot of mana to win in cEDH.
Yeah, 100%.
You're hoping people interaction.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, really, again, the post combat win is the Walking Ballista. The pre-combat win, you can either do Walking Ballista or you can pump out a couple creatures and then say, I'm gonna put X amount of activation to Pride of the Whole Clade's ability on this Llanowar Elves, and you're gonna die.
Okay, 100%.
And then they effectively, like, you know, if there's some shenanigans that stops my creature from connecting with them, then I effectively deck myself. Which is kind of funny still, because I die in a way that I would like to die.
Like Josh Lee Quiet, die drawing cards.
Exactly. It does. I do think I can probably input a Born Upon the Wind in the deck, because the way I literally just learned this recently. Pride's ability is like if I connect with a Llanowar Elves, I put X amount of activations of Pride's ability on the stack. So it's not like I draw 50 cards. I draw 50 instances of drawing one card.
100. So yes. That makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly. So there is room to be like, let me draw this card. Now let me draw this card. Now let me draw this card. And in this card you're drawing, you're effectively layering how you want to draw your deck, right?
Gotcha. Yeah. No, that makes Born makes a lot of sense then. Like no, 100%. And actually, no, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
But like that's like in honestly fairy tale land where it's like I've super debated putting Born in the deck just because of growing right to Vitlock. Because it effectively acts as like a ritual, so you're like, this is gonna flip. I'm gonna Born now with like, you know, however much green.
Thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow.
Yeah.
I apologize for taking away, brother.
No, you're good. You're good. But like I wouldn't know, like I don't know where to begin, where I would do that, and that's also like again, that's like Merry Christmas. Like that's like I was like, oh shoot, it happened. You know, that's cool.
Right.
But like to answer your original question, the infinite mana lines are like Devoted Druid, Machine Gods, or Hullbreaker Horror.
That makes sense.
I've thought about inputting Transmute Artifact, just so I can be like, oh, you have a Devoted Druid out there. That's pretty spicy. And I haven't done anything all game. Now all of a sudden I'm winning. But like not many people hang their Devoted Druid out there. So
yeah,
it's like,
unless you're going against a maybe a Time or something like that. You there, brother?
Exactly. Like, and you also have to be under the impression that you're not, you know, you're not gonna you're putting, if you're like Transmute Artifact wins games.
100%.
Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. It's an artifact technically. I mean, again, Walking Ballista is the win con, but you don't want Walking Ballista coming into the battlefield with 0 on it.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I'm not about to transmute artifact for a Walking Ballista. Realistically,
right. Unless you got an E-Witness in hand. Yeah, unless you got an E-Witness in hand, that's not happening.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Like No, you're good. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I actually wanted to ask then within that realm. So we currently have 2 ways to make infinite mana that to go into our Walking Ballista, that being the Hullbreaker Horror with 2 mana rocks, or the Devoted Druid and Devoted Druid plus Machine God's Effigy. Yeah, but I want to ask about the other Simic powerhouse, which does see a lot of power in the 99, that being Kinnan Bonder Prodigy and Basalt Monolith. You know, Kinnan being a super mana dork by itself in the 99, and Basalt being just a solid rock, that mana rock. It is a 3 for 3, but it's something that, you know, could help push out whole Clade or help push out your Hullbreaker Horror and maybe help with loops or whatever you may want to do. And I want to see how you felt like how you felt about that for a possible inclusion.
So the way I see it, if I'm actually tapping mana, anything more than 2 mana to cast Pride, because obviously I have big butts that take place of like preferably what I'm tapping to do Pride for.
Sure.
Then the game plan is a little bit behind. The game plan is behind. If I'm tapping 5 lands for it, as an example, I'm way behind. I'm like, oh my god, I have nothing better to do. Cast Pride for 5 mana because I have, you know, I have 6 toughness on board.
Gotcha.
And for that reason, like I pre-Dockside era, I was playing Kinnan. I tried to do Kinnan, but there was too many iterations of like, okay, I have a Kinnan on the battlefield. This is interesting. Like I tried to make my deck anything for the most part, if it's CMC is 2, it's bare minimum it has to be 3. Like it has to be. And so with that being said, like I can't reasonably, like it's awesome that you have the extra mana, don't get me wrong. But like another example, when I was on Kinnan, like the original list, I would make more mana than what my deck currently makes. And then I mean I would eventually get hosed because the mana sources are effectively like mana rocks, dorks, and enchantments. So I had to stop doing that.
Due to Dockside, I'm guessing.
Yeah, Dockside would screw me so hard.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
So do you think? My apology. Go ahead. I wanted to ask though. Do you think that like since Dockside is now gone, do you think that there's a universe where maybe Kinnan could come back? Because, you know, I actually, at first it bothered me, but I'm enjoying the post-bot Dockside mana where I don't have to think about, like, I just don't have to think about, like, my rocks and enchantments hurting me. I'm just thinking about, like, yeah, just like, hey, just play it. And if you play it on the rod, then it is what it is. So, yeah.
It is what it is, 100%.
100%.
so the thing is, and also keep in mind, like I already told you, like again, it might be like you mentioned, it might be mana fixing, like fixing the mana base of the deck a little bit more.
Yeah.
But spending a blue mana and a green mana to cast a 2/2, that okay, it's gonna make my bird tap for 2. It's gonna make my land or else tap for 2. It's gonna make my things tap for 2. It's great. But like if I have to use that mana to cast Pride, it's like, well, this kind of stinks. Like more like I think I mentioned it to you before. Usually the initial swing of Pride is gonna draw me 15 cards. And I'm gonna be like, okay, I can kind of sculpt my hand. I can play out mana ramp, which will alternatively the following turn help me win the game. Like
Gotcha.
it's like that is ideally when a person should be definitely blocking Pride. The initial swing, it's not gonna win me the game. Like that's my reasoning for telling people. I'm like, you should really not sacrifice your your one piece of thing you have on the board.
Sure.
Like it's the mindset of cEDH is this person is here to win. They are not going to win if they only have one thing that they finally got on the board. Or alternatively, I just tell them I'm going to put this Legolas quick reflexes on it, waste a piece of removal that could possibly use to stop other people from winning, and just blow up your one Timna or your one blocker and connect either way.
Sure.
That's how I personally use Legolas's.
So then basically the Kinnan and the Basalt are just not worth it in your eyes in this list.
No, like Kinnan by itself, so in my head, if you're putting Kinnan in the deck, you need Basalt, but Basalt in the deck by itself is honestly a bad card. It's only good because Kinnan, right? But by itself, it's like, okay, like this is like it's all right.
Yeah, I think that if I could push back slightly, I think the fact that it's a combo piece, like I don't think it's a bad card. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I think it's not a top tier card, and I think it usually needs something like a Forensic Gadgeteer or a Kinnan Bonner Prodigy to make it a great card in the list. But I think it, like, when I think about, like, the natural, like, just the natural amount of mana that you can push out with such a high land count and all the other things, my thought process is, it's not the favorite mana rock, but always knowing that, like, hey, bro, I just need freaking Kinnan. I got Walking Bliss in hand. Y'all just fuck around and find out. I'm about to make this infinite mana. But I say that all, but within the place of, I respect where you're coming from. I think different play styles have different things, and I understand where you're coming from when it comes to that. So I won't push too much on that. We did have one more question from the audience when it came from the inclusion of Valley Floodcaller, because we talked about Born Upon the Wind. He was asking about Valley Floodcaller, Helix, Opal, Soul Ring, Vault, Ambers, and all those other things. And I want to ask, is that worth the inclusion, or is the fact that it can't cast the Walking Ballista post making infinite mana instant speed not make it worth the inclusion in the list?
So I actually played against a Glarb yesterday that played the Floodcaller, and I was like, this combo feels really good. Like I really do like it. The problem is, like, obviously the biggest thing is, like, Walking Ballista is a creature, so I can't cast that at instant speed, right, and thus in the game. But there's probably some other shenanigans, honestly, I could do with that in mind. Like, I could probably flash in an Agatha Soul Cauldron while Walking Ballista's in the bin and just be like, yeah, I'm still gonna win. It's just I had to go through an extra step to get this Walking Ballista into the bin, right?
Okay. We cooking with fire. We cooking with oil. We cooking with gas. Okay.
I like, if anything, the main reason, like, and right, it like the pros of it is it's prowess. Like the fact that I can just be like, oh, all of a sudden I have like I think it's a 2/2. Is it a 2/2?
I believe it was a 2/2, but then it has the ability to grow.
Yeah, it has the ability to grow. So like, I think, like, I wanted to try and find a slot for it in the deck. But also keep in mind, like, the deck does need a slight density of big butt creatures.
Sure.
Like if I'm putting in Floodcaller, like I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, what am I taking out? And like the big butt creatures in the deck, honestly, are like really awkwardly good. Like 100%. I've had people literally ask me, why the hell are you playing Soulless Jailer? I'm like, it's a 2-mana Grafdigger's Cage that says nobody's winning with Breach.
Right, 100%. That, like, makes sense. Yeah.
And even in recent events, it also just like it's my Soulless Jailer has stopped many people from winning the game, and I'm like, how does this stop you? And they're like, well, I have to do this from exile. I'm like, oh, awesome, thank you. Like you're just giving me more reason to keep playing Soulless Jailer.
Right. Yeah.
Like my one of my friends a couple days ago, like it was a a casual cEDH game.
Right.
But one of my friends decided to naturalize my Soulless Jailer. I'm like, okay. And then my friend who's playing Roxai literally just won the game off of Underworld Breach. I'm like, this is why you don't touch the Soulless Jailer. Like it's a 0-4 that you use a piece of removal for. If it's not stopping you from winning the game, which it really wasn't, there's no reason for you to do it. But he's a dude who was kind of we're somewhat. He's a very good Magic the Gathering player, but he's a little nuance of cEDH.
Got you. Yeah, got you. Understood.
Yeah.
Understand.
And also,
yeah.
No, notably,
go ahead, brother. Yeah.
Polywog Prodigy is a tank in this deck.
Got you.
So it's kind of like I don't want to take out another big butt creature because those big butt creatures literally make like I've gotten Polywog to be like awkwardly enough, like there was an Elish Norn that hit the field, but my Polywog was big, and then an Elish Norn hit the field, and I didn't draw a single card off of it. But I'm like, oh, this is great. No, like that Polywog would have easily drawn me like 5 to 6 cards if I just got it out turn 1.
For sure.
But I decided not to feed the Mystic Remora.
Yeah, like those type of decisions are tough, but I definitely I think I do agree with EDH on the possible inclusion of Valley Floodcaller, especially because I did hear you kind of have this may be something that I'd be interested in. So I think I think we can like another perspective could be like I think just keep playing the list, and I know for me, when people suggest cards, so I'm like, I really want to put that in, but I don't know what I want to take out. Instead of trying to make the decision immediately, I just say, I'm going to put it into my sideboard. Like I see you do have a nice sideboard where just like, I'm going to throw it into the sideboard. We'll see what happens. And when a card starts feeling off or wrong, or it just doesn't sit well with me, now I already know, immediately, I want to throw in Valley Floodcaller. And of course, it's a small package where you got to add in the Retraction Helix, and what the other version, but like usually you can switch those out with the bounce spells, which shouldn't be the end of the world. But I will say though, we've talked about the win cons, and I love all the reasonings behind the things. I will say personally, I'm still a fan of Kinnan and Basalt, but I do respect your play style. I will say though, I want to hear more about now we've talked about how you win, but I want to talk about now how we get towards win. So if you could just quickly talk about your tutor package for this amazing whole Clade list.
So I mean, to be noted, outside of Eldritch Evolution, really most of my tutors are trying to grab, depending on where we're at in the game, most of my tutors are just trying to grab what you call it, Duskwatch Recruiter. Because there's the possibility that when I connect, that I'm not going to draw into this Walking Ballista. But there's a very, 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 very small chance that I don't draw into one of the tutors that gets me my Duskwatch Recruiter. Does the world exist? Sure, absolutely. It is not likely. But the effectively Natural Order, Court of Calling, Worldly Tutor, Green Sun Zenith, Summoner's Pact. These are all tutors that are basically trying to grab my Duskwatch Recruiter when I'm in the process of winning the game.
Gotcha.
Notably, Eldritch Evolution, if I'm sacrificing Pride, I'm grabbing myself a Hillbreaker Horde.
Gotcha. That's actually pretty simple. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
But that's really it. That's the tutor package in its entirety, and like I said, for the most part, most of the tutor packages are meant to get, like, once I connect, if I'm connecting and I'm tutoring, chances are I'm trying to win the game. It just depends on how I'm winning the game, really.
Got you, 100%. Yeah. Notably, I was one tutor that was very interesting for me to see was Intuition. And I want to ask, like, I'm sure the audience is interested in knowing what piles do you create in this list, this whole Clade list, notably because we're not in white, so we don't have Savines, and we're not in red, so we're not using Breach, or like, what piles do we use to make this card viable?
Did I? Let me just make sure I didn't take out Noxious Revival out of this. I didn't take out Noxious Revival is in here.
Good,
So
good.
effectively, you're grabbing two of the cards you're grabbing is Noxious Revival, and you're gonna grab Shifting Woodlands. The third card would be the card that you kind of need to win the game. But for the most part, I mean, Noxious, like, it also depends where you are intuitioning. You can be intuitioning on somebody else's end step. That way they just give you Noxious Revival into your hand and you bin the other things. Then you're like, Noxious, I'm going to draw this card that I need for turn and win the game. And really that's it. There's probably a couple other things that I can just intuition for. Like, I mean, you can, for the most part, like, I haven't really been able to put together a very solid intuition line, but it was something. Intuition is just a good card.
Okay.
But a solid intuition line. I guess now that I super look at it, you can put Agatha Soul Cauldron. You can put the creature that you need because nobody's gonna give you Duskwatch when you win the game.
Right.
Or you can put, like I just said, the Shifting Woodlands. But
got you.
All depends on what you have in hand. Like, that it kind of depends on the situation.
Yeah.
I've seen people intuition in response to me doing something, and then they put their 2 win cons in the bin that need to be in the bin, and then they tell the person, "Give me this piece, otherwise we're gonna lose the game." And they're like,
100%.
"Then I'm but intuition, regardless, like, intuition is a card that's gonna win the person the game. Like, they're not, like, it's. I mean, I play against intuition in specific. Like, I honestly think my play group is like, they're amazing. Like, they're really good at the game, like, aggravatingly. So it took me like months to be able to win against them. But by the time I got to my first cEDH tournament, I was like, people take really bad game actions in Swiss, and they're like, oh yeah. No, people take very bad game actions in Swiss.
Yeah.
It's only once you get top 16 that it's like, that you're like, oh, you're playing for like against people that are really good.
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
Like, maybe you know of him. His name is Jorman. He's a really cool dude.
I've heard of him. Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
You've heard of him?
Yes.
He's the dude who was in the tournament where I top 16'd. And like I said, like, he's just a really good player. Like, I play against him. Technically, he's local. Technically, I play against I think his name is Trevor. He plays Turbo Nagila.
Gotcha.
I've played against Omar, who plays Tivit. Omar is like more so like, he's one of the dudes who started the Tivit Discord. I think he's a moderator, one or the other. But he's just a very good pilot. I play, you might know him, Mike. He plays the Gitrog monster.
Probably
apparently
passing. Yeah.
Yeah, but like I didn't realize how good my play group was until I started playing against other people, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
I love that.
And can you like stop like king making this person essentially? Because if it's like, I didn't realize how, like, my guys are very good at educating me when I make misplays. Like, they are very good at that because they don't want me to make it in a tournament.
100%.
But like, in a tournament, like, I can't talk to people in a tournament like how I talk to my play group, because my play group will literally show me the card in their hand. Like, you can't do that because he's gonna do this, and then we're screwed. There was a tournament. I was still playing Nadu. And I unfortunately, I honestly thought he wasn't gonna be able to stop me, so I just kept feeding this dude Ristic study triggers.
Yeah.
But alternatively, I was getting destroyed by an Orcish Bowmaster in the face.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, this is really, really bad. But I can't not go for the win because the top deck was a really good top deck.
Sure.
And so it gets to my friend's turn, who is like the turn after, not the following turn, but the turn after the guy, and he finally hard cast Tivit because he was like in a very bad place in regards to like the board state, like where we were at the game. And like I said, I drew this Nagila player basically like 15 cards. And the dude across from me decided to mana drain Tivit, and he's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" He's like, "I want the mana for when it gets to my turn." And my friend is like, "It's not gonna get to your turn.
You're not attacking.
You drew 15 cards." He's like, "Yeah, but I still want." And I'm like,
you're not gonna untap. Like that's what we're saying.
Like you're not gonna untap.
You'll never see that. Like look at his hand, look at his board. Say you'll never untap. You'll never see that mana. You're better off holding the mana and seeing if like maybe you cast an Adnons or something. You won't get 6, but at least you get 5 mana. Like just think about it.
Alternatively, because I was pushing, there was a 2020 Orc army.
Right.
And on top of doing the mana drain on my friend's turn to get the Tivit mana, he Toxic Deluged for 20.
Oh.
And I was like, in my head, I'm like, this is what a bad CDH player is. Like I was like, bud, we are dying. And yes, it was because it was my fault. But we're dying. But yeah, sorry to go off on a tangent. Like,
no, good. I think that's just those type of examples are tough, and I think this is where politics come in my experience. I think a great politic, like there's good politickers and everything, but a great politicker is the one who can, I say, come from a place of love and just like, hey, people ask me all the time, like, how do you politic people into just doing certain things? And I said, because I tell them the options they have in front of them, and I just tell them, like, if you do this, these are the different doors. I don't know what's in your hand, and don't show me. I like to be surprised, but these are the doors you can go down. Just be aware of these variables that you're not thinking about. And most times when you're not an asshole, you're not coming off with such intense energy that it can be, it can be tough to hold back that intense energy when you're in that tournament environment. But when you come from like the place and understanding of like, hey, this is just one game, this game doesn't define me. It, like, I know some people say, it's just a game. Not like it is just a game, as in one singular game. Like I understand, or even this is just one singular tournament. I'm gonna have so many more opportunities. And for me, I'd rather build the reputation and repertoire that people understand of like, oh yeah, TTC's chill, he gonna politic your ass. But at the end of the day, the tough thing about the like great politicians is you never know, are they telling me this to get me to do the right thing because they want to see a good play, or are they telling me this because this good play, quote unquote, is basically setting them up to win? And that is where, like, the great politicians coming in, because they just spit facts. They don't say he's the threat. He said no. They say like, hey, like, these are the variables I need you to think about before you pass that mana drain on that Tivit. And I understand you want the mana, but look at his hand, his card side, look at his board, say, I don't think you're gonna tap. I respect whatever you do. However, I don't think that may be the best thing for you to make sure that you actually get the opportunity to use that mana. And when you say it to somebody, they don't make the decision they want. And sometimes it's tough, but no matter what, like, when you end it with just like, I respect whatever you do, like, it just, well, let's have a great post game. We can show our hands, we can like kind of educate and just make the person better. But it's just like, to get angry and so tight over a single game it does more hurt than help to you in your entire CEDH career. And that's why I find like it just helps to stay calm. And so yeah, we had a slight tangent on with that, but I do think that's an important thing for those who decide to determine, or just games in general, But within the energy, you're not going too far out. You did give us some possible intuition piles. I did, though, I do, like, at first I wasn't fully seeing the inclusion for intuition, but I definitely can see, especially, you brought this up, but Shifting Woodlands definitely seems like just a powerhouse in your list. And I love that because I'm noticing you're not running the Eternal Witness, notably. And is that, let me see it. I'm guessing there's no Eternal Witness because, like, no, we have Shifting Woodlands then. That's just a land drop, you know what I'm saying? And so I do love that inclusion where now you can pivot depending on what game plan you're going for or what you're trying to do. So I just had to give you your flowers on that. I absolutely love that. And Shifting Woodlands, Knoxville Revival, or you go Shifting Woodlands, Walking Ballista, and Agatha Soul Cauldron. If you put the Agathas and the Walking in the graveyard, just Shifting Woodlands, my Agathas. If you put, they lose no matter what. They put the Walking Ballista in my hand, I win. Or if you put the Agathas in my hand, I win. So I love the flexibility.
Like, noted, right? Like, of the creatures that get big in my deck, Mold Adder, Ledger Shredder, Polywog, Scythecat Cub, Managorger, Mossborn, Forgotten Ancient. These are all things that get +1/+1 counters. Yeah. So like, anytime I munch on something with Agatha Soul Closure, and if I have any of these things out, like I don't need to target them. It just, the things need to have a +1/+1 counter to have the activated ability of the thing that I'm effectively going to munch on.
Right. Please keep going. You were talking on a little bit of the intuition, a bit more. Talk to me, brother.
So I mean, it's probably a little bit less about intuition. I honestly just wanted to mention how much of a freaking house Agatha Soul Cauldron is. Oh, like yes. I said, the deck produces mana. Agatha Soul Cauldron colors fixes you for prize ability because it just says you don't care about the cost, or the color exactly. Yeah. I've had somebody Force of Negation my Agathas, and I'm like, in my head I'm like, that's a really good response. Damn. But like it doesn't feel good because for me it literally does 3 things, and 3 very good things. Like people are like, oh, it's a really good Stax piece against my deck, that's why I have to stop it. I'm like the fact that that's the only reason you're stopping it irritates me.
It's all good. We're all at different places, and you are running a more off the beaten path deck. You got to be fair. Like people don't know what your deck does. They don't know that you need it for your Walking Ballista lines and for the color fix. Like they can infer it, but like we got to give people grace. People, we don't all know everything.
It's more so about, it's always about the reasoning. That's why I ask people, I'm like, why did you do it, by the way? And if they tell me, oh, it's because of like it would have messed me up on my turn, I'm like, okay. But realistically, it could have been a piece of interaction for somebody on somebody else's turn, because all you have to do is be patient.
Sure.
Sure.
That is true. I have to say that's factually true. That's true. Yeah.
One of the first things my friends preached to me, they're like, you do not get rid of stacks. Like this was in Dockside era. They're like, you do not get rid of stacks pieces. You win around the stacks pieces, 100%. Or you wait till it gets to your turn, or before your turn, you overload a rift. Yeah. And then you're good to go.
100%. Instant speed speed is king. Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's also another one of the downfalls of this deck. It can't really win at instant speed unless I guess there's a assault, unless there's a Walking Ballista in the bin Agatha's on the field, and it's less about winning instant speed and more so about being able to stop somebody at instant speed.
Sure.
Which eventually leads to you winning the game. I
hear that. Yeah. I think definitely Born Upon the Wind and Valley Floodcaller are definitely things it may be interesting just to put some energy in checking it out. And no matter what, I think that the number of cards you see during your combat step, it actually may lead you to more want to win during your turn over winning at instant speed. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's a lot of variables that go into that. I know instant speed is the best way to win post ban. I've been experiencing that. A lot of people have been saying it, but I don't always think those type of decisions are black and white. There is times where you have to take in consideration what is best for my deck may not be the best thing in the meta. You know what I'm saying? When I used to run Satya, Aetherflux Genius, I didn't run Born, not because it was bad, but I chose to run Final Fortune and Chance for Glory because I used my combat step for value in order to do double recruiters or whatever not. So me having a Born didn't help me, at least for my playstyle for the list. It didn't help me as much as somebody else who was looking to do purely breach stuff. Born is fucking gassed in. Yes, why aren't you running Born Upon the Wind? Please tell me that, sir. And so it's a different conversation. Nothing is ever black and white in cEDH. It's flows and grays of just variance where you never know, especially when you have the hidden information of what's in that person's hand. And so I definitely hear where you're coming from there, brother. But I want to say again, I love the inclusions of these tutors. I love the inclusions of the decision matrix that you have created for yourself and how all these support that. And so now, we've talked about how you win, we've talked about how you get towards the win with tutors, but we got to get more cards in the hand because that's what we're mulliganing for. And so I wanted to ask, just talk to me about your card draw package. It's slightly lean, but it's efficient and gets the job done, especially with our commander doing so much. So just talk to me about our card draw package.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Obviously, I put a section over here for a card draw that says Mystic Remora, Dustwatch Recruiter, Ledger Shredder, Polywog, Runic Armosaurs. I haven't been able to play it yet, but I do think it's gonna be able to draw me a decent chunk of cards just based off of the commanders people are playing in today's meta.
Sure.
Selvala realistically doesn't she hasn't drawn me a card thus far. It's more like things get big over time, but she does have a card draw text on her, so it's like, okay, she draws a card. The heuristic study obviously draws cards. One Ring draws cards.
100%.
Realistically, every one of the creatures that I have on my, like, everything from Shield Sphere right down to Forgotten Ancient and Hullbreaker Horror, even technically Endurance, I guess. Each of these things technically draws me a card in my head.
Gotcha.
Because
100%.
Like whether I'm going super wide with a couple 0/4s or like a Ledger Shredder, like that, you know, activate Pride, that's draw bare minimum. In a realistic world, my Ledger Shredder's toughness is usually 5. Like the one time it didn't get to 5 is because somebody decided to lightning bolt it, and I was like, oh, okay, like, and they're like, it was gonna get big, and I'm like, yeah, it was in like 3 turns from now, but sure, whatever. But then, like, realistically, like I said, every one of my creatures in my brain draws me a card.
I love that mentality. I apologize for cutting you off, but I love that mentality. I just have to give you flowers when it comes to the layering of how your deck works. I do love that thought process of like, like, you know, Fanatic of Ronus does this. It's a mana dork, but it could draw me fucking 4 cards. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like, though this is a stacks piece. You know, like Soulless Gel is a great stacks piece, but it also draws me 4 cards. Like, guys, like, what are we talking about? Like, I like, and 4 cards is like a substantial enough. I like, at that point, you're paying 4 mana for 4 cards. What are we talking about now? Well, okay, like kids, what are we talking about, guys? So please continue, but I do love that mindset. I wanted to give you your flowers for that, brother.
But again, like, worst case scenario, I tell people, I'm like, if you block this with your mana dork, I will pump 4 mana into this and kill your mana dork. Like, it's the mentality is I have nothing better to do. Like, whether I have this mana or I don't have open this mana, like, you're telling the person, like you're taking a bad game action, but you're putting their mana dork or whatever their thing at risk. And realistically, they're not about to sacrifice their mana dork. Like, they'll put their mana dork in front of a 0/4, a 0/5. Whatever, they're not going to put it in harm's way because, like, Kinnan especially, like, in one pod I had to do basically sacrifice his Kinnan. I think this was on Play to Win's Discord, and he was literally like the farthest in the game. He had all the draw engine, he had all the mana, and like he was trying to convince this other dude to block my Pride of the Whole Clade because I was going to draw 15 cards. And I'm like, buddy, look, you have all the draw engines. I can't cast anything without drawing you 5 cards.
Right. Right. That's extremely fair. That's extremely fair. Yeah. Yeah.
And the dude was super far behind. So it's knowing what people, I mean, a part of this deck is knowing what people are willing to sacrifice. People are just not willing to sacrifice their stuff. And like I'm a very honest person. Like, I tell people, this is what I'm gonna do. This is right here is what I'm gonna do. Now, if I draw 15 and I have other things that I have to do, you better make sure the words that come out of my mouth are, I'm not gonna do anything else.
Yeah, no, like, get good lawyers, kids. Like, get good lawyers.
like you know, you have to, like, I don't know, like, if you see a win, like, again, I'm very honest when it comes to politics. Like, I'll tell a person, I am not going to win. I've told people I'm not unborn upon the win. That's also like a little bit of a reassurance thing to use with people, because I've seen people literally say, I'm not winning on my turn. I'm not going to win. I'm not going to win. It gets to the next person's turn. That person
they just bored, or they final fortune or some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
and it's like, okay, I get, like, and it's only ever happened like once, I swear to God. But it happened, and I'm just like, I mean, you didn't cheat.
You didn't lie, you didn't cheat. You had good lawyers. You were good with your words. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good with your words.
Yeah.
Me, I'm horrible with my words. I tell people, like I can play this deck because, again, I'm just very honest, and I tell people exactly what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're like, oh, he's gonna go back on his word. I'm like, I don't do that. 100%. I don't know who that. I don't know what decent Magic Gathering player does that.
There's some conversations people have about the viability of line and cEDH. I just don't think it's worth it, especially when all it takes is for you to get better at communicating. Because at the end of the day, you could always just say, I have nothing to divulge at this time. So if someone hits you with that, are you winning this turn? I'm like, bro, if you're gonna use removal, you might as well just use it. And they'd be like, but are you winning this turn? Like, if you're gonna use it, go ahead and use it. I want you to waste the interaction. You know what I'm saying? So do what you got to do. Like, I have nothing to reveal at this time. And it's funny. I found it's maybe like 30-70 or sometimes 50-50 where the person be like, they either were bluffing or they just don't think it's worth it because they don't know if you're gonna win. And so they saying, man, I'm trying to save this removal for this stacks piece. So I'm going to take the gamble on the 10 or 15 or 20 cards, which is stupid. Well, let me not say that. It may not be the wise decision for them, but it can vary. It can vary, guys. Get good at politicking. That's all I got to say, folks. Y'all get good at politicking.
I also politic in ways that I say, hey, can I get your guarantee so we can get some interaction out of this dude's hands? Let me have a free swing at you with pride. And like, if they have the removal, at least you got a piece of removal for somebody else's expense. 100%. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm gonna draw 15 cards.
That's so tough. Like, you gotta politic well to draw 15 cards. I'm sorry. That's crazy. But like real like again, like it's you in my brain. I like to think I tap into the aspect of that individual wants to win the game. Like again, the weakness / pro of the deck from a political aspect is I only have a legitimate 1 win con and only 2 ways to get to that win con. There are layers to it, sure, but it's a lot more complicated than the dude who just drew 15 and is going to Final Fortune on his turn. Like, true. Like if you see a Final Fortune, like in one of my games that one of the games that I won, one of my friends, really good guy, he decided to Final Fortune, and I told him, I was like, do not Final Fortune right now. I am not, because the only reason he Final Fortune is because my Managorger was like 18 at the time and effectively had lethal on him. Sure. I told him, I was like, just let me connect with pride. Like, you're going to take 3 damage, but you're at 10 life. You're not out of the game. And he was like, I'm going to Final Fortune. I'm like, all right, sure, Final Fortune. He Final Fortune. He cast another 10 spells. Didn't win the game. I swung effectively my 20 or 25 Managorger at somebody else, drew 25 cards, won the game. Wow. I was like, bro, I told you I was not going to kill you. You did not need to Final Fortune. I'm literally telling you what I'm going to do. Like, the deck doesn't necessarily, like I said, the deck doesn't try to kill people. It just tries to leverage the fact that I can deal damage and draw from a separate source. Yeah. If that makes sense. That does make sense. I think sometimes I'll say it like this. That makes up, first of all, that does make 100% sense to me. I will say in addition, I know for like, sometimes that fear in players' hearts can come to, and this actually came up in our last video that came up in the gameplay where it was the sign gameplay, and a Derevi had the 1 ring on board. And so what ended up happening is the player was like, oh, I can't win with these 6 cards I'm going to draw. And I said, I don't think you can win with those 6 cards. I don't think I can win through the 6 cards that you see. And then after that, when you untap, tap it, and then it becomes from just, oh, it's just 6 cards to being 10, 15 plus cards in a Derevi deck. And that's where in those positions where they're trying, like in that situation, he was trying to goad me to use my interaction early, and like I ended up getting there and it ended up working out. But it only came from me taking the gamble of, no, I want to hold up all 7 of my mana because I want to overload this Cyclonic Rift at the person's instep before the Derevi attacks, because I just knew, like, you know, like I had an offer, I had a pact and all these things in hand, but I didn't want to at that time have to use all of that. I wanted to use that for my win. And so I say the point I'm making with that is that it's like, it kind of goes back to that. It's never black and white. It's, if you feel confident you can get there, go in and Final Fortune. If a person is literally saying to you, oh, I'm not going to swing at you Managorger Hydra, and they say, okay, you want to make that deal? Okay, sure, do it. You know what I'm saying? They have to still look at their hand and be like, all right, can I beat him if he draws 15? Probably not. You know, like, and that's the decision. It's not plainly about, do I Final Fortune or not Final Fortune? Is, can I beat the 15, or am I confident that the 10 spells I cast on my Final Fortune turn can actually get me towards the win that I believe that I can get to? And do I have the skill set enough to get there as well? And these are all like, this is these are the variables that I have people think about when I challenge what they do. Like, hey, like, just think about this. If you got the win, please present the win. Like, you know, the faster you win, we shuffle, play again. But if you don't think you can, I think just take K's deal and just let it be what it is. Take K's deal and we'll cross that. I love this. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. He's gonna draw 50 cards. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. It's okay. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Like, it is what it is sometimes, you know, like, if people have wanted,
like I told
you,
I leveraged the ability of, like, again, like, I can inflict lethal, but it wasn't like it was a blue farm player. He was playing blue, and I told him, I was like, because I actually didn't want him out. He's a really good guy. I didn't want to win. Yeah, I'm gonna win, but like it just feels weird to literally nuke a player off of the board with one Managorger.
Yeah,
like realistically, it hasn't actually happened yet where I kill a player with Managorger, unless Managorger just unless Managorger literally is a 50-50. Like, I mean, gain 100 health. Like, I won't try to kill you with this Managorger. But unfortunately, you have, you know, maximum 40 health at this very second. I can't do anything about that.
Right. 100%. Yeah.
So at that point, it will kill somebody, and you'd be surprised. Like, again, people are very like, I don't know what the mindset is. Like, the person thinks I'm gonna zone in on them only. I'm like, no, that just gives that person a reason to tutor for removal for my Managorger over tutoring something that can progress their game plan.
Sure.
No, I'm gonna swing it at this person, then I'm gonna swing it at this other person, then I'm gonna swing it at this other person.
Sure.
And if the person wants to use again, then after that initial swing, you kind of start playing the political aspect of, like, hey, I don't want to swing this Managorger at you again, bud. Can you draw 15 over here so I could swing this Managorger at somebody else? And they're like, listen, if a person has removal, a person has removal. Like,
it is what it is.
Yeah. All of my friends literally told me, he was like, Karnar, your deck is bad. Your deck is bad. And I'm like, guys, I will acknowledge my deck isn't great. Like, it's not the Kinnan. It's not a 1-card combo with other things. But it draws 15 cards. And they're like, one piece of removal. I'm like, then do it.
Card draw is good. Card draw is good.
Good.
Yeah.
Like, Tivit is 6 mana. Like, Tivit, not a good card draw engine. Very good win card. Very good card at winning the game.
Sure. 50-50 on that. It depends what the Tivit is with, but alone, I do hear what you're saying. Like, it can be slower on the card draw engine.
Yeah, it's a very, very good card. Like, I'm not ever gonna, like I told you, I literally just played with Tivit and it was so fun.
Yeah,
it was like, oh my god, like every single mulligan was like, just felt good.
Yeah,
and like it was like, this is so stupid. And both games that I won, I basically just won with Thassa Decon. It had nothing. Like, one of the games I won, it never cast Tivit. The other game I won, I cast Tivit, but that's because I had a time thief on turn 2.
Right.
That's because I had Smuggling on turn 2.
Right.
And I was like, I have nothing better to do with this mana. Cast Tivit.
Got you.
Like, yeah.
I hear you there. Card draw is good.
But yeah, card draw's good.
Card draw is good.
Fun.
Yeah. And I do, like I said, you've hit some really great points when it comes to this card draw. Like, you got a solid package, and you also have an amazing commander to enable, like, these 0/6s, 0/4s to just continue to draw you cards. One question I did have before we move to the next category is, I'm seeing a Ledger Shredder and I'm seeing the Polywog. I want to ask how you felt about Faerie Mastermind, and because it being an outlet for your infinite mana, just another way to win the game. Notably, if you were to also add something as a lab man, we actually have EDH Senpai saying lab man with this commander could be funny with the shifting woodlands and just being just another option. Granted, it does have that dead card syndrome that a Thassa's Oracle may be, but you know, do you think that, like, that line, first of all, like, do you think Faerie Mastermind would have a worth in the slot, even though it only has 1 toughness? So, but it's a potential to draw cards alone and to be an infinite mana outlet, and then also with that outlet being something that can go with a possible lab man in this list.
Honestly, I would never put it in the deck. Like,
which one, the Faerie Mastermind or the lab man?
Definitely not the Faerie Mastermind. The lab man, I think it's a 2/2, and for that reason, I would be like, no. Like, the way I see it, if I connect, The thing is, like, yes, I can win with right? I can technically win with whatchamacallit, Labman, but all of like the card draw that I get is burst card draw. So it's like if I'm getting to the point where I'm super activating Pride to draw through my whole deck, essentially, like it's just it's the fact that it's a dead card and it's a card that does nothing once you cast it. Like that,
Sure.
like that's the like I guess you know I can make the argument that Shifting Woodlands, but like Shifting Woodlands is also it's my land drop for turn. So now we're like can I Shifting Woodlands at this time? Can I draw my deck at instant speed? Like we're going into a realm where it's like I'm relying on if I put a Faerie Mastermind in the deck, which again, like I said, definitely not going to happen, because it's a tool. Like it's the butt is too small. And then I'll like it's just it's not good enough. The card itself is not like Labman is not good enough. In general, like I think I've seen it one time in my entirety of playing cEDH, and that's because my friend he enjoyed his he was playing a Nimrus deck, which is very control heavy, right? And he was like, yeah, I have the Thassa Decon win, but I have Maniac and I have Jace as the backups. Because I can just decon while they're on the field and then draw a card and win the game. Whereas, like, I can't just decon away my library or tainted pack my library, draw a card, and then win the game. And like, I mean,
so I'll throw this in there. I'll throw this in there, brother. So this is why I think I respect where you're coming from with Faerie Mastermind. The one toughness isn't very synergistic. I love that card personally, and I think it's actually very much slept on because it's the only 2 mana draw engine creature that can activate and trigger itself, unlike Archivist, Polywog, any of those. That's just my personal conviction. So we can agree to disagree on that one. What I'll say about Labman and what I received when EDA said it, and even when I think about it in the list, is it's not about how good or bad it is more, I guess, more of the thought process that goes through my head is, oh shit, what do I do if my Walking Ballista gets exiled? And so then the next thought that I think is like, because I do respect where you're coming from, Lab Maniac just being a dead card, doesn't even have like a big booty where like, I mean, if it was like a 1/4, we could talk, we can like, or 1/3, like we can have a conversation about it. But then that makes me think about another card that could support your Walking Ballista, that could support your Agatha Soul Cauldron. I wanted to ask you about Karn, the Great Creator. Is that something, it being a Stax piece, if the audience is not familiar with it, it's a legendary planeswalker that has a null rod effect, but it's an asymmetric null rod effect, and it does have a minds ability that says you may reveal an artifact card you own from outside the game. That doesn't work in Commander, but it does say, or choose a face-up artifact card you own in exile and put that card in hand. This being like, hey, we're a little bit, I'm not going to say slow, but we're a little bit slower than like our rock size and maybe like our more Necro or Adnos slanted decks. But this is something that could slow them, but also be a recursion piece. So then when that Ragavan hits our deck and exiles our Walking Ballista, we're not looking at our hand like, how the fuck do I win the game? And so this was actually like kind of as a response to where you come from. Do you think Karn, the Great Creator, it granted it has no synergy with the list other than being bolstering your win cons and making sure and slowing the game down? Do you think this maybe could have a place, or is this also in that place where it just doesn't fit the vibe or your play style enough to fit in?
Honestly, I think you noticed I had Karn in my sideboard and I literally had to type in Karn the Great Creator and I realized it's in my sideboard.
Oh shit.
The only reason it is obviously not in the deck is the fact that it's not a creature, and like the deck technically needs big booty creatures. Like it kind of needs them. Now, will I happily just play throughout the game without a single big butt creature until like, hey, all of a sudden I have like 7 mana and then I top deck this one big butt creature and now I could cast my commander for 1 mana? Like,
Gotcha.
I can literally just wait around and do nothing but play things as I go. And Like that's just something I wanted to throw out there.
Yeah.
Karn is definitely something I would try. It's just more so that I don't know. Like it's kind of like I don't know what I would take out. And 4 mana, like right, like 4 mana is still a lot of mana. I do like the idea that again, big booty. Like I have big booty creatures. Like honestly, nobody almost ever connects with me.
Sure.
But that card is not going anywhere if it's
Right.
on the battle.
Right, exactly. Nobody's gonna get through to knock it off. And that means if artifacts are off for the entire game, it can shut off a lot of strategies and a lot of win cons from your opponents, which can be huge, possibly. Yeah.
It's definitely something, and right, it's like until your next turn, up to one target non-creature artifact becomes an artifact with power toughness equal to its mana value. So it also plays some synergy in like what I do, because I can just make my like
Machine gods into a 4/4 or
yeah. Not realistically, like machine gods is
it's a win con, but like
it's a win con.
It is a win con, but yeah. It has multiple layers, and I'll say this, or of course, there's also the One Ring, but I'll say this: I don't think that you got to make a decision right now. I just wanted to introduce this kind of like within the place of like, hey, like for me, players know this about me from like my brewing style. I love layered win cons, like I love redundancy, and I like a lot of different win cons. That's really the reason why you'll not see TTC run a lot of stacks personally, because I'm thinking about when I brew my list, similar to my deck text, I think about first, how do I win the game? Okay, I'm not putting any cards. I don't care about staples. What cards do I need to win the game? If it's Breach, I'm putting in the Breach package. I'm putting in Intuition. I'm putting all those pieces in. If it's Wargulcher Dragon, I'm putting all the Reanimator Chance, all these things. And then I start to go through the other places. But most of the time, by the time I get the stacks, unless it's a card similar to like Karn the Great Creator that allows me to recur, maybe if I'm praying Francisco and I want to get my Walking Ballista out of exile because someone bounced my Agatha Soul Cauldron in response to the activation on the Walking Ballista. Or for example, Soulless Jailer, a really great piece where it's not just a stacks piece in your list, it's also a draw for 2 mana, and once it doesn't have summoning seed, it's like these are the kind of reasons where like, oh, I'll run a stacks piece if it's for that reason. And so I think it's just more of just I don't want to say a thought experiment. I don't know if that's the right usage of that phrase, but just more something I just think about it. Just think about it. Let it sit. Let it marinate for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Don't rush it.
It's marinating. Like I mean, again, it's already on the sideboard, so it's kind of like it's like the one neg on it. Again, the biggest neg is literally like, why you gotta be a planeswalker, man? Like,
I hear you. I definitely hear you, brother. So basically, what we need from Wizards, y'all, we need y'all to make Karn the Great Creator, maybe make it 5 mana, but the same text. And and have like an activated ability to pull stuff out of exile and to do it, because they have the other card that can turn stuff into like into non-creature artifacts into creatures and stuff. But we need pull from exile, make it 5 mana, or make it 3 mana, because y'all like to make busted cards like Nadu. Make it 3 mana.
Bro, still, Nadu was a normal card. He wasn't broken.
I definitely
it was so fun. Good days.
It was an experience. I'll say that. I want to remove the removal. I want to move on to removal and interaction, but I had one more question about our card draw package, and I want to ask about this because the last time we saw the Pride of Whole Clade on this channel, this card was fucking bananas, and you said you saw the video, so it is called Last March of the Ents. This is a 8 mana spell. It's a sorcery. This spell can't be countered. Draw cards equal to the greatest toughness among creatures you control, which is, for example, just your commander be 15, and then put any number of creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. That includes the creature cards you already had in hand when you casted this spell, when you first cast the spell. So I wanted to ask about this. I'm not seeing it in the list, and that's not a thing of criticism. It's 8 mana. That's not a little bit of mana. But if I had not experienced Wavy Ashira, like shout out to the Mono Red Patriot community. Also, he's just an awesome like father and guy. He's just cool dude. If I didn't see him cast this, I would have said, "Nah, you're tweaking." But it's fucking crazy. Last point, of course, lastly, because we are notably on a very substantial 29 creatures. So, I want to ask about this card, and is this a possible inclusion for card draw, or how do you feel about that?
So again, in the sideboard, it was in my deck list. It was in my deck list. The only reason I'm currently off of it this very second is because I went through like it was. I like to think it was like probably a couple of weeks where I was doing test plays, going through mono green win lines.
Yeah.
So basically Ashaya, Mages of the Candelabra, like Hope Tender, like I was trying to convert the deck from a let's just say like how do I phrase this? I was trying to convert the deck to basically essentially mono green line wins. 100%. And Ashaya like has a very tender spot in my heart. Like I love Ashaya.
Gotcha.
So I was like, ooh, this is spicy. This is nice. And I got to do a dumb, stupid line with LQR that was reminiscent of Nadu LQR with Feto Alchemist.
Yeah.
Of effectively wiping people. Because I would tap on the Candelabra, target itself, produce mana, and then you just do the ping people effect.
Right, 100%. Which is a really cool outlet. That's very cool. No cap. That's a very cool outlet. But keep going, brother.
Right, exactly. But at the time, I took out Last March of the Ents because I was like, okay, I have to start, unfortunately, taking out cards to try and slot in technically cards that are for the game plan.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So like there's a chance I can literally just put in Last March in place of Hullbreaker Horror.
Wait, hold on. Because Hullbreaker is how we give the mana.
He is a combo. Yes, he is a combo piece.
Yeah, yes. TTC's not okay with that.
I know, but
go ahead.
Like right, you can't be on a deck with only one win con. Like realistically, that can't happen.
It just can't.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, like there are cards that like we mentioned in the beginning where it's like we're not looking for like hands that we're trying to mulligan to. We're trying to look for hands that we're mulliganing away from. Last March of the Ents is a card that you don't want in your opening hand.
Very true.
And
that's very true.
You like it's. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the deck list even at that time.
Yeah.
But instances where I got a stinking Hullbreaker Horn and Last March in my hands while I'm already going to a mulligan to 6, and I'm like, I hate my life. But like realistically, it's just like it's a really good card. And it feels really good when your Cradle literally taps for all of the mana.
Yep.
But like when you don't win off of it, which ideally it was a card that is supposed to win you the game.
Sure.
Like when I built my original list, like Dockside era, like the ideal was, hey, I have a Pride of the Whole Clade on the battlefield. I'm gonna cast Last March of the Ents. At the time, I was running Tidespot Tyrant and Hullbreak Horror. Right. So it was like, I'm gonna draw in and put one of these into the battlefield. Like it's gonna happen, right?
Right.
Many times it did not happen. I was like, this card stinks. This is annoying. And this was a time when I was testing the Kinnan, I was testing the Thrasios, I was testing I was testing the cards we kind of mentioned.
Yeah.
And it just it wouldn't get there. Like it was like, you have a Hullbreaker Horror on the battlefield, and yeah, you drew a ton of cards and you resolved all these things. But fun fact. While you're resolving your Last March of the Ents trigger, if you put a Hullbreaker Horror on the battlefield and there's an Orcish Bowmaster, they just Orcish Bowmaster your Hullbreaker to death, or Orcish Bowmaster your whatever it is to death, and you're like, oh, okay.
Oh well,
like,
actually, hold on, clarification, hold on. Because of the sequencing of the card, and please correct me if I'm missing something. It says draw cards first. That means, and then you will put it on the field. So would the triggers go on the stack? Because the minute the triggers go on the stack, they would start targeting, but because there's a comma between then putting the number of creatures, does that mean that the triggers would not go on the stack until the resolution of the sentence?
Correct. Like the card, I mean, in any instance, like the effect of the card has to be done to completion, and then everybody else may continue their game plan actions, whatever. Like then people can respond.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I know with triggers it's different than actual putting a spell or something on the stack. I know that with no, with Orcish Bowmasters, the triggers will go on the stack. Once they go on the stack, targets must be declared. But I believe, y'all, let me know in chat if I'm missing something here. But because there's a comma between control and then, that means that is a continuous thing where you draw the cards, put the creatures on the battlefield, and then the triggers go into the stack of Orcish Bowmasters, which could be extremely detrimental and thus making this card dead. Not dead, but like, unplayable in that scenario.
Yeah, it's very difficult to literally feel good about casting the card, even if your Cradle is literally tapping for all the mana.
Yeah.
And this was during a period where people were like shooting down mana dorks with their bowmasters like nobody's business.
Sure. Yeah.
Now people are becoming a little bit more like, don't ping down the mana dorks. Like you should be pinging the person who just drew like 15 cards.
Sure. Yeah.
But like you should like Orcish Bowmaster came around the time where I was playing mono green, and I very quickly had to get off of mono green. Like I couldn't play it anymore. People wouldn't let me play.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
And like again, last March, like it's in my casual build of pride. I love it because it's the deck is an evolve deck, so it's like I'm gonna draw 15 cards.
Right.
15 creatures on the battlefield. 20,000 triggers of evolve.
Yeah,
and then it becomes confusing.
Right, because everything sees each other comes in. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, would I tell people you should be taking it out of your deck because of this 2-mana Orcish Bowmaster? No, I don't think I would tell anybody to take it out. It's a good card. I would just tell people like, how has it felt spending 8 mana only to get your commander Swords to Plowshared? Like, because realistically, that's when the
true.
Like any piece of on board, like I can kill your commander, or I can kill this thing that. Like usually it's you have one big thing that's kind of being like the way most of my games kind of pan out are I can get an early big butt into like, let's just say getting into pride by turn 3, or I can do an early thing that becomes big like what Mold Adder, Polywog can get big over the course of the game, Ledger Shredder, like things that can get big.
Sure.
That's the ideal what I want by turn 2. But realistically, like if a person just decides to randomly say I'm gonna sword your thing, like they're sending me back to the Stone Age.
Right. 100%.
Now should they put removal just because? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's 15 cards. 15 cards is 15 cards, but
no, 100%. But up until I get to the point of doing that game action, like my creatures are effectively, like they're not doing anything other than just being big creatures. You know what I mean? 100%. Like if you have instant speed removal, be using it at instant speed. Like the example I'm giving is literally using a Usher at sorcery speed, and I'm like, I'm just like, fine, take this game action. We're about to lose.
Sure.
I don't care at this point. Otherwise, I would use my protection to literally, if a person's going to use their removal, like that's why I run Sylvan Safekeeper, Legolas. Like I run the things that effectively hinder people.
Sure.
I mean, I don't know. It's just.
Yeah. No, I think you brought up good points about. Yeah, I apologize. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah.
No, I think.
No, you're good. Like I said,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah. No, I think
the game plan of the deck is literally just.
We keep talking. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. The game plan of the deck is literally for it to be a long game.
Sure.
Like I don't care if I'm in a game for 2 hours, for like maybe not 3 hours, but I enjoy the game being a very long game. Preferably while I'm taking game actions, but at least people know I'm not about to be at this table for 50 minutes, because the deck doesn't win in 50 minutes unless people are like land pass, Karn land, mana dork pass, then it gets back to my turn 2 Managorger.
Right.
Like I've only been a part of one stage game where my Managorger didn't live to become a 10/10, and that's literally because people were casting one spell each turn. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Sure.
This is stupid. You guys are supposed to be casting spells. And they're
Right.
like, not even as a collective, they weren't like trying to not make my Managorger big. It was just happening. I was like, what the fudge? This is insane. My commander, usually after I resolve Managorger, is effectively gonna make it so my commander costs 1 mana.
Got you.
Like that's usually how it plays.
100%.
But then hopefully I have, hopefully I have fast ramp in my hand after.
Yeah.
Because like even if I cast a turn, like the way the curve works out, it's turn 1 land, turn 2 land with a Managorger, turn 3 you're now looking at let's just say the Managorger is still on the battlefield, you've cast your commander, now you're at 4 mana because like that's effectively where the turn, you're at 4 mana, that's where the turn pans out. You connect with Managorger, right? Preferably.
Right.
And then you're effectively tapped out at that time. But like you can't win after being tapped out unless you draw into complete gas.
Right.
And the gas you have to draw to would effectively be your cradle, would effectively be like fast mana rocks.
Sure.
And
100%.
although you are drawing a lot of cards, you're actually not able to cast a lot of them in the upcoming turn rotation.
Got you. I feel that.
And
yeah. No, that makes sense.
So like that's the downside of the deck.
No,
But that's why I've started putting in things that are like, they do a little bit more. Like Poliwag does a little bit more. The Uruk Armasaur I think is gonna do a little bit more. Like things that keep me in the game while my commander unfortunately isn't in the game.
Yeah.
But the only reason I'm trying to power out my Managorger my Pride is to open up my Fierce Guardianship in my hand.
Gotcha.
Like, and I'm not about to mulligan to a Shield Sphere, like things that just bring up my commander, because then you're mulliganing to a Fierce Guardianship, and that's not a good game plan.
100%. I feel that, and I do have to say this just because I want to make sure that our gameplay guests aren't up too late. I do want to move it over from card draw over to removal and action, because I do think you hit the point of the last of the March of the Ents very well, and retouching on the purpose and intent of the list and how the card draw affects that. So I do want to ask, like, talk to me about anything notable within our removal and interaction package.
Notable removal and interaction. I mean, obviously there's the usual Simic stuff. Offer you can't refuse, Pact, Otawara, Beseiju.
Yeah.
I like notably, like I mentioned, I'm not on Force of Will, I'm not on Force of Negation, and that's literally just because I don't have the blue density to like be able to say, oh, I can just pitch this.
Sure.
It's honestly not difficult to keep open a blue mana after you cast Pride, because like you are probably drawing into a free mana rock. Like you're probably drawing into a free mana rock at that point.
Sure.
But also very notably, I'm on blah 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 blah, my brain, Vexing Bauble, and Vexing Bauble is a house.
Yeah.
Like Vexing Bauble does so much, and it's like, okay, like I'm on one free interaction spell for the most part, Pact of Negation. Fierce Guardianship is fine. Like it's like but like I said, like I've given you an instance where I would hard cast a Fierce Guardianship. It's not like, I mean, 3 mana, like it's not where you want to be to counterspell something, but it is interaction. Like you can't keep open 3 mana. And then Force of Vigor. Like these are the things that like this Vexing Bauble will kind of mess with me. But people are very good at politicking with me, where they're like, hey, if you get rid of this Vexing Bauble, I have this I have this Mind Break trap in my hand, I can stop this. 100%. And I'm just like I would say I'm pretty good at knowing when people are about to go for a win, or like it's not difficult to know that what win lines the meta decks are running. Like they're running what is Yuriko running outside of combat damage? She's running Faucet Decon. If I keep my Vexing Bauble, that's shutting Yuriko, who's probably drawing a chunk of cards, from casting their free spells. And like, I mean, if they have their own, whatchamacallit, they have it. But if I have the interaction in my hand plus a Vexing Bauble, I'm very good with just keeping my Vexing Bauble in play. Like I don't
100%.
like it really hasn't bitten me in the butt, honestly.
No, I feel you there, that makes sense.
But yeah, notable interactions. there's nothing really specific to my deck that's notable interaction. I do like it's in my sideboard. I want to try and run Bluster Squall. Literally just because it has an overload option to tap everything. So a part of it is like, hey, this feels like an overloaded Rift for 4 mana, and I can get a free Pride Swing. This feels really good.
Instep, Bluster Squall, untap. Got you. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I'm just not comfortable, like, honestly, taking out the interaction I have in my deck to put that in.
That's fair.
I've noticed, there we go. I've noticed Talon Gates. Like, I marked Talon Gates as removal interaction in my deck, literally just because you can do crop rotation into it.
Sure. Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Like, even to this day, people are like, oh my god. I'm like, what did you think I was gonna get? You were trying to win with combat shenanigans.
Right.
You haven't, like, you win a Gila, you have a you have the pieces to win the game. All I need to do is resolve this crop rot. Some people are under the impression I'm going to grab a Gaia's Cradle. I'm like, no, I'm going to grab the thing that's going to stop you.
Right.
But really, that's it.
I feel you there.
Yeah.
I do love your interaction package, and so everything here makes a lot of sense. I will ask about some notable exclusions that we talked about briefly earlier, being i.e. Force of Will and Force of Negation being exclusions. I just want to ask, like, what caused that, and is it you brought up earlier the Vexing Bauble being this powerhouse in the list? Is that the reasoning, or is there another reasoning we're choosing to veer away from these free blue mana, these free blue counterspells on the 2-color list?
Yes. So honestly, I just almost never have the blue spell in my hand to, like, pitch to it.
Oh, that's fair.
Like, Force of Will.
I'm sorry for cutting you off. We're at 25% blue. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Keep going. Yeah.
I didn't even realize you could check that. That's pretty neat.
At the bottom of the page, I usually like my list having 30+% blue, so I can, my Force of Wills, Force of Negations can be online. And once I reach 35% to 40%, I like to include subtleties if, like, I'm more like a reactive list. But no, I hear you. Keep going, brother. Keep going.
Yeah, but literally, like, if I can't cast free things, my Vexing Bauble makes sure people can cast free things, so that makes sure that the pod is relatively keeping their mana open, which I'm perfectly fine with. That just means they took less game actions.
Sure.
Like, I'm still gonna get to my turn and cast my Spellskite, cast my Soulless Jailer, cast my Mana Dorks. Like, as long as nobody's jumping off the rails, like, I would imagine a whatchamacallit, what's that? Not Gruul, Golgari card.
Rough Decay?
That board wipes and makes.
Or no,
no.
Culling Ritual. No. Yes, that's it.
No. Yeah.
Culling Ritual, yeah.
Like, Culling Ritual hits this deck hard. But to be fair, Culling Ritual is winning the person the game. Like, nobody's Culling Ritual and saying, I'm going to pass after this.
No.
Yeah.
They're gonna cast that ad Nas, whatever not, Hoarding Brood Lord, Peer to the Abyss. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And at that point, if I don't have a piece of interaction or the thing that they're trying to resolve, I'm like, oh, then sure, I'll upgrade the Vexing Bauble, because it's either I lose or there's no reason on God's green earth anybody should ever let a Culling Ritual resolve.
No, not at all.
Unless the person literally says, "I your game actions after this."
No, yeah,
I guess, but nobody. There's, like, I don't think that would ever happen.
I know. I definitely hear you there.
But anyway, that's the really, and honestly, Force of Negation was an easy pull. Like, Force of Negation was an easy pull just because it felt like a dead card in my hand almost all the time. And unless I literally see a Roxai at my table, honestly, I'm very comfortable, like, just playing a blue source land and holding on to this, mental misstep, or holding on to this dispel, or holding on to this, like, it's fine, because usually at that point the pot is like, hey, are we gonna play responsibly? Like, are we good? Like, and then, you know, like at that point, it just falls onto the table, like whether we're going to lose to Roxai or not.
Sure.
And recently,
that
I just learned
sense.
if Roxai apparently mulls floor cards, sorry, if Roxai effectively mulls the floor cards, they're mulling for a wheel. And I'm like, oh, that's a helpful fact to know, because like I always
Yeah.
thought Roxai was just pushing for the win regardless. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
like if we're down to like 4 cards in hand, we're mulliganing for a turn 1 wheel,
Right.
turn 2
Unless
wheel.
they
I'm like,
get
oh,
that like that dark ritual into Necro or some belligerent stuff like that. Like
yeah.
it is usually safe to say,
Like, that
hey,
stuff
you said what?
No, go ahead. I just said, like, it's literally that stuff happens. Like, you know, where it's a turn 1 dark ritual into turn 1, you know, into a turn 1 oh my goodness.
Necro.
Brain failing me.
You good. You good.
Or Necro
man.
Dominance, one or the other.
Yeah, either or. Yeah. 100%. No, that's a
Yeah,
very
but
that's
go
a
ahead.
very fair reason to exclude those blue spells there. Like as I brought up earlier, if you all are not familiar, like at the bottom of your Moxfield list, they will show you the percentages. And what TTC usually does is I like to have my blue my percentage of blue spells to be 30% or higher. To me, that usually, like, it just, the list feels good for Force or Will, Force, and Negation. And for those lists that maybe have a higher blue count, I love subtlety. Like, for example, on my Mars Calgar list, I'm not a control list. It's just a really disruptive spell that can really pivot things. But at that point, I probably want my blue spell count to be closer to about 35, maybe up to the 40% round. But like, that's because it's Esper. Like, it's really easy to run a bunch of blue spells in those colors. But no, that makes sense. Like, removal interactions suites, it makes a lot of sense. Everything seems good and it layers well. We give a lot of either like some slight free interaction or 1 mana interaction, just being that fierce guardianship, and it's only a 4 mana commander, so everything makes sense here. So at this point, we know how you can interact and stop your opponents, but how are we protecting ourselves? Talk to me about our spell and board protection.
So I mean, like I mentioned too, like Vexing Bauble is a house in this deck. Like, even going into my turn, the amount of people that have tapped out, and I'm like in my head, I'm like I said, like I really don't like to think of anybody as a bad Magic player, but you can make bad plays. You can make
That's
bad
very
plays.
fair. That's a
You
very
shouldn't be
fair
tapping
statement.
out,
Yeah.
like with a Vexing Bauble.
Yeah.
Spellskite is obviously the protection piece, like that says you will not be getting rid of this single target while I try to connect. All right, that's the you know, like that's the thing. Vexing Bauble literally says, as long as like I play responsibly, usually other players don't play responsibly. Like, maybe it's not a powerhouse in regards to like when I start playing better players. But thus far, I've been like, yeah, I'll keep this turn 1 like going second in the pod, turn 1 Vexing Bauble, absolutely. Because like again, my game plan isn't to like, it's not. I'm not trying to go fast. Now, preferably, I have other things to do in my hand after I've cast my Vexing Bauble. But whatever, that's besides the point.
No,
But yeah, Veil of Summer, Sylvan Safekeeper, Legolas' Quick Reflexes. These are all obviously like they offer protection in different ways. Like, some on the stack, some physically on the battlefield. And that's really it. There's not like you don't need really, I think, a ton of things to protect things on board, because also, like, I mean, I could probably classify Shifting Woodlands as protection, because everything that goes into the big, yeah, it's just recursion. But like, I will say that it's difficult outside of crop rotation to tutor for Shifting Woodlands, and I'm not trying to dig for Shifting Woodlands ever. Like, it's like, oh, it's on the battlefield. Oh, right. I drew it in my 15 cards. I have an exploration in my hand. I'll go ahead. I'll play the Shifting Woodlands.
Right.
Yeah, but really, that's just it.
Yeah,
like,
that makes sense.
You know, outside of that, the regular Simic, protect your stuff. Maybe there's something that I am missing, but it's more so I'm at the point with the deck list where I'm like, try some things. Like, at the end of the day, if the person literally if people are dead set on me not drawing 15 cards or drawing whatever cards, I'm effectively out of the game. Like there's no way for me to come back in a game where people are honing in on me with every bit of interaction.
Sure, yeah. Then like we brought up politic and like yeah. I think I'll say this. I think one way to navigate that is because people know I'm a politician. That's what I do. One way that I navigate those situations is I just choose my words better. You know what I'm saying? Like instead of saying like, you don't like you're doing all this so I don't draw 50 cards versus I understand you're trying to do all this to stop me from drawing cards. However, and in that statement, I'll be like, however, XYZ 1, 2, 3, we need to be cognizant about that. And I never say draw 15 cards because the minute you put a number to it, people are like, TTC, you lost me, bro. Versus I say, you're trying to stop me from drawing cards, and I hear that and I respect that. But just keep cognizant about these certain things. And there's always, I tell people there's always ways to up your politicking skills, and like taking the word 15 out of it. Like, because whenever you say draw 15 cards, I'm just let you know there's nothing we can politic about that. If I can stop you, I'm gonna stop you. I don't I don't care. But if you say like, hey, like I'm just trying to, I understand you're trying to stop me from drawing cards, but please do a card hand count of the people at the table. He has 8 cards in hand, and he's going to untap with 6 mana or 9 mana because of his mana vault. And you could be like this cheeky and act like you forgot his mana vault or something like that, and then you playing on to it and playing to it. He's like, yeah, just draw the cards, and then like they know it's 15, but the minute you trying to convince me to let you draw 15, it's card ridiculous. But you trying to convince me to let you draw cards, we're having a different conversation. Like we're having a different conversation. Like I never said 15 cards.
I'm just trying to get into the game. Like I'm just trying to get into the game. I haven't done anything all game. Like I'm just trying to take a game action. This dude already drew like 10 cards off of his Ristic Study. He drew already 5 off of his like, you know, 1 ring. Like it's fine. Like let me draw a couple cards. I'll play a land and a mana dork and I'll pass the turn. Like
if I could add in one more thing, because when you all are politicking, make sure you say things that actually will make people convict people to want to let you take game actions. I'm gonna be honest. If someone says to me, I'm just trying to take game actions, I haven't done anything this game. It is not my job to make sure you take game actions during games. An example is, I would hate on Nadu as a deck. The only way I had a really great win percentage against Nadu when it was legal, and it was because I would get myself in the table to hate the deck off the table, and we would never let the Nadu untap, or we would silence them the upkeep when they were trying to cast her, and all these other things, and it was really effective because they would say, I'm just like, it would be that energy, I'm trying to take game actions, versus it's because that's the same. When I think about that, it's just another way to say like, oh, I'm not the threat. I don't care who the threat is. Objectively, that's you're doing crazy stuff. Versus if you say, hey, bro, like I'm just trying to draw some cards. If you don't want to, it is what it is. I respect whatever you do. It is what it is. Just be cognizant about X, Y, Z, 1, 2, 3. Like it's not their job, your opponent's job, to let you take game actions, because your game actions are trying to win the game. Versus, hey, you're increasing your chances to lose by wasting all of your interaction and feeding a Ristic and a fish on board, and they already have 8 cards in hand. So I don't think this is the time where we should use all of our interaction. And I never said, oh, like be nice to me because I haven't done anything. Like we're playing to win, bro. I don't give a fuck about being nice to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, when did I sign a social contract of being nice? I can be kind. I don't have to be disrespectful. I'm not gonna call you at your name, but we're playing the game right now. Like, I'm not playing this to be nice to you. What the fuck is this? Like, I digress though. I can talk about this all day. I have to say, I love your board and spell protection packages. It's lean, mean, and gets the job done. But the game is not just about stopping people from interacting with us by protecting our board. It's also about interacting with people by stacks in the board out. So talk to me about our stacks package that's lean, but is very effective. Talk to me.
Yeah, so I've learned for obviously the stack purses, like I said, Vexing Bauble is a house. Like I haven't gone turn 1 in turn rotation. I haven't gotten the chance to do like a turn 1 in turn 1 C order Vexing Bauble, but I've had it done to me, and it's like, oh, I'm screwed. This is back to when I was playing Nadu. But Vexing Bauble is a very powerful card. It acts as a attack speed, it acts as protection for your turn, it acts like, and that's really what it those are like very 2 important things that a 1-drop does for you. Stax Effect, Soulless Jailer. Like, I didn't realize how often Rockside players would flip Bergie. And then I was like, what does Bergie do? They're like, oh, 5 mana, I pitch a card, and I look at it, I put 2 cards into exile, I can cast them. I'm like, Soulless Jailer? They're like, oh god. I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. And like, honest, like, that's for the most part it. Act of a Soul Cauldron plays a little bit of Grave Hate.
Yeah, that's right.
But like, Act of the Soul Cauldron is in the deck not necessarily because of the Grave Hate that it supplies. It's just, you know, it does the thing. Like,
exactly.
it messes with something while enhancing my game plan.
Yeah.
And then Rurik Armasaur is again, it's still a test card. I put it slotted into the Stax category. Just because I will say, when I was testing out Verity Circle, I got to play it in a game against a Kinnan player, and I'm not even joking with you. I drew like 10 cards off of him alone, just because of his mana dorks. And mana dorks are becoming way more prevalent. But now I'm like, oh, Runic is technically a worse card, but now I'm taking advantage of the Runic because it's people aren't activating abilities of anything other than what's in their command zone. Timna, Thrasios gets me. Kinnan gets me an activation. What else gets me an activation in
today? There's a lot of things that get activations. Yeah, Walking Ballista.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Oh my god, I didn't even think of Ballista. Like, I'm also thinking of just what's in there.
Yeah, there's mad stuff that honestly can really just cause Runic Armasaur to be crazy. You had brought up mana dorks earlier. Were you meaning the mana ability of the mana dorks, or the extra abilities of mana dorks that don't include tapping them for mana?
No, I'm talking about specific. Like, this is why I mentioned Verity Circle when I was trying it out.
Yeah.
Verity Circle says, right, whenever a person taps a creature for any other reason than combat, like, you draw a card. And I'm like, card draw.
Got
this card was bad in Dockside. It's like, you spend 3 mana, and then Dockside would say, I want a treasure. Yay. I've used Verity Circle to literally tap a person's creature down and swing with pride. It was great. But like, that doesn't help you get pride. And then people would just read Verity Circle. I'm like, oh, keep 2 blockers, so that way you can only tap 1. I'm like, all right, sure, whatever.
Right.
So again, like, you could count Verity Circle like X piece of sorts. Again, I'm not on it anymore. But it was definitely fun testing it. It didn't win me the game. I lost that game, but it like people were like, oh, then we're just not gonna tap our mana dorks. I'm like, yeah, you slot. Like, who the heck is not gonna tap their mana dork? Like, they're not gonna use this mana dork as a Timna attacker. Like, what are you gonna do with it? You're gonna use it at one point or another. I'm just quote unquote staxing, like somewhat staxing you.
Yeah.
Now, is a person not gonna activate? Like, they're gonna activate their Thrasios. If a person sees I have a Runic Armasaur and they have a Seaborn Muse with Thrasios, they're still gonna activate Thrasios like 50 times.
100%.
I'm like, okay, like, I'm good. Like, I'll draw a card. Yeah. Like, you reap some advantages in mana ramp, yeah, sure, but I'm drawing cards. Like, that's what I want to do because that's going to lead me to win the game.
100%. That makes sense. Yeah. Now, that sounds good to me. Both Verity Circle and Runic Armasaur both seem like super interesting includes that. I think they're meta dependent, but I think the choice of running Runic Armasaur right now I think it's powerful, and it's a thing that people have to think about, and I think it's a meta call, definitely, but in general, people are activating abilities that aren't mana abilities. So yeah, I like it. Yeah. Great stacks package. Go ahead. You said what?
Triggers Polywog. Another thing to be noted.
Triggers Polywog as well. So just layering after layering. I love that. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I really do love it. And I'm not a huge stacks person, so like I say, lean, mean gets the job done. But the game isn't just about stopping people; it's also about moving ourselves forward. So you can talk to me about some notable inclusions for our ramp package.
Honestly, notable inclusions, like I'm pretty sure I'm on every mana dork known to Magic. So it's not like notable inclusions. Honestly, I've seen people literally be surprised that I'm on Fanatic of Ronus, and they're like, your commander's a 215. How's that gonna? And then they see me turn to anything that becomes big. I've had Ledger Shredder literally become like a 4/6, and they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, it's active. I've done a turn one Mold Adder into a turn 2 Fanatic of Ronus. Mold Adder has become a 10/10 on my board. Mold Adder is I should mark it as like it's not a special inclusion. It was an inclusion. The second Tayum player was like, you should be on Mold Adder, and I'm like, what is that card? And then like a dude test played with it, but he never I want to say he test played with it, but he never got it to hit the board aside from when he played Tayum. And the thing is with Tayum, like, you're getting rid of the counters, so obviously it's not going to become big. It's just there for the counters.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And I've like bare minimum, every time Mold Adder gets out, it becomes a 6/6 at least.
Right, yeah.
Anything more, then all right, then now it's effectively acting as a drop piece of removal. And if you don't want to block it, then it's a draw 6 for me. I'm very happy.
Right. Yeah. That all makes sense to me, honestly. Yeah, thumbs up for me. Yeah, no, I like your ramp package. I like the inclusions of Vala, both Wild Growth and Utopia Sprawl. I love what you just said about Fanatic of Ronus and how sometimes these cards that maybe don't synergize with our commander can just be so generically good that they just get the job done in ways that we maybe can't imagine. And I do love, notably, our combo piece, Devoted Druid. It's also just a mana dork. So just, what are you doing with that Devoted Druid? I'm trying to make mana to cast my 11 mana commander. What do you think I'm trying to do with it? So, and I love the inclusion of Go ahead. Say that again.
No, I was just saying Devoted Druid is literally a mana dork until you see a Machine Gods on the stack. But at that point, like, I've probably resolved, like, I either have a piece of protection to protect the Devoted Druid on the battlefield, or most likely I have a piece of protection to protect the Devoted Druid on the battlefield. Sure, like that's literally it.
Right, 100%. That makes sense.
If a person, again, so far currently I cannot win at instant speed. So if a person just says, "Well, that's on the battlefield, I'm gonna cast a silence," I'm like, okay. You guys have a turn rotation to get rid of this. To get rid of this win con on the battlefield? Like, right. I don't know. Like, what do you want me to do?
I feel that, No, that makes sense to me. Until you get that Born or that Valley Floodcaller, we'll talk again. But no, that makes 100% sense to me. I think lovely ramp package. It's felt like it's fucking fantastic. I love everything I'm seeing. And so, like, amazing ramp package. This is going to allow us to propel into the board state in the ways that most people couldn't understand. But it's not always just about the ramp. Magic was built off our land base. So we've talked about talent gates and we've talked about all these amazing things, but are there any other notable land cards that you want to touch on?
I mean, obviously, like, on my brain, Gaia's Cradle is obviously a good card. Nixos is a card I'm testing out. I was testing it out when I was on the Ashaya package, because I was like, again, like, I was honing in on producing a magnum ton of green after I connected, because the two blue pips up for Pride do matter. Like, they really do turn off a lot of win attempts when Hullbreaker Horror is one of your win attempts, right? Now, with that being said, Nixos was there literally to see. I'm like, all right, let's see what kind of mana this land can produce. I mean, obviously our commander is only giving it 1 mana. But then you have, like, notable inclusions like Selvala. You have notable inclusions like the Runic Armasaur. You have notable inclusions like, I mean, if anything that's a double pip green thing. And best, I mean, you're also counting your devotion from your Utopia Sprawl, your Wild Growth, like those things. It's good. But there are instances like where it's in my, like I mentioned to you, like you're looking for hands that you're not looking for.
Yeah.
And Nixos those cards where it's like, unless I have a third land in my hand, I'm not keeping a hand with a fetch land and Nixos.
Yeah, that's
like,
fair. That's fair.
Like it like you need, you know, you need the blue pips in the deck.
Right.
The like I even in the like with Wavy, I told him, I was like, honestly, the deck is very blue pip hungry, but it produces a magnum ton of green.
Right.
Which was again the main reason why I ever even started with Selvala. I was like, Selvala's a really good mana dork. It just so happens that, you know, my Ledger Shredder or my Forgotten Ancient or my things have become, you know, 2020s. Now the Selvala is a beast. You should get rid of it. Or the thing that's a 20. But like there are pieces that Selvala doesn't work. But yeah, like I mean, right, we were mentioning notable lands. Notable lands, Manamo, like,
Yeah.
and that's mostly for One Ring purposes.
100%. Yeah, that makes sense.
But after that, there's nothing in specific that screams like, oh my goodness, I can't believe you play this land. I'm like,
no.
Like,
I saw Growing Rights at Illimak, and at first I was a little questioned, but I was like, oh, it's just another guy's Cradle. We want to make a lot of mana. Yeah, that all makes sense. So yeah. I literally completely forgot about that. That was land in my head.
Growing Rights, I liked it. I liked it a lot more when I was on Phyrexian Walker, which is a 0 mana 0/3. Because there was a chance that you cast it ETBs, you have 3 creatures, and you're like, well, I have no more mana, and then you're like, oh, Shield Sphere, oh, Phyrexian Walker, I'm gonna cast this, and then you're like, oh, I have 4 mana now instead of 0 going this turn rotation. Like, you know, again, it's more green mana, but it is like, it does feel good when it flips. Like 100%. It feels really good when it flips. And I will say, when I was on Ashaya and I was on the Quirion loops and all of that, it felt really good when you're like untapping your Arbor Elf. No, not Arbor Elf, my brain. When you're untapping Arbor Elf, and then you're untapping your second Gaia's Cradle. Like I had 2 games where I had 2 Cradles, and I was like, this was so good. And I told the pod, like, don't worry, I'm going to be paying for all of my Ristic Study triggers. And then my friend proceeded to win the game.
Right.
I'm like looking to the bottom, like, God, I'm going to draw cards. Don't get me wrong, but there's a Ristic Study over here. 100%. And I'm about to cast a 0 for 1 mana that I'm supposed to cast for 0. Like, I can't, you know. And then at this point, the pod decided to throw all of their interaction in. I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. Like, you know, we lost the game to TNT.
It happens.
But I told him, I was like, I can't actually, like the only win line currently, obviously, to a Ristic Study is Devoted Druid Machine Gods.
Right.
Other than that, it's literally gain value, stop maybe have 1 piece of interaction in your hand. Like, you kind of have to see, you know, like it, like I do look as my graveyard as a second hand when I connect. Because like most likely if I have not played my land for a turn, I'm probably going to play my Shifting Woodlands.
Right.
So like pre-combat of, you know, activating Pride, it's very difficult to get Shifting Woodlands to be active. Post, very easy to get it to be active.
Right. 100%.
9 out of 10 I'm not even counting for do I have the do I have the Delirium on it.
Right, 100%.
But you know, every once in a while I do it. But I mean, that is probably that's the most notable land in the deck that's technically not a land until until it matters, I guess.
That makes sense to me. Yeah, man. Like I love everything I'm seeing. Everything looks great. I love the things that you're testing, because this is how we get our decks to look better. And so this is all phenomenal, brother. And so before we do some playtest hands, I just want to ask, are there any other categories that you'd like to touch on? I do see we have Pride Ramp, but I believe we've pretty much touched on them already throughout the duration of the deck. But is there any other categories you'd like to touch on?
I don't really think so. No, not really. Like,
Yeah.
Again, like if I could add a category for politic, I would add a category for politic. Because like the amount of different politics you have to make with the deck is like it can only be done with this deck. Like I swear to God, you can only do certain politics specifically with this deck, and it's like this feels so good. Like I love this.
I hear you. I definitely hear you. Well, man, like look, we gonna see the politics in the gameplay, but before we get into the gameplay, let's get some test hands going so the audience can see how this deck mulligans. We talked about how we're worried about those hands that we don't want to keep. So let's look for some hands that we don't want to keep. And so first, I'm gonna roll a d8 to see what turn order we are going. You got a 2, so you're going first. Let's say in this pod we have you're going first. We have a Tymna Kraum going second, a Tymna Thrasios going third, and a Roxai going fourth. And so here's your first 7. We have a Chromox, a Rejuvenating Springs, a Soulless Jailer, a Ledger Shredder, a Hullbreaker Horror, a Wall of Roots, and a Fanatic of Ronus.
I mean, Tymna and the TNT and the other Tymna can probably stop Roxai.
I mean, you got a Soulless Jailer, so that's something.
No, there's a Hullbreaker Horror in this hand. Absolutely not. Like
okay.
we're just like.
Oh no, I would say we do have a Soulless Jailer here, which stops breach lines. It doesn't stop Thassa's, but it stops breach. Note we also have card draw with Ledger Shredder. Hullbreaker gives us a goal that we're working towards, so it is technically a hand of 6 early game, but as we continue to progress forward, we just need mana, which we luckily have because we also have Wall of Roots and Fanatic of Mogus, and for Fanatic of Ronus, that we can pitch either one, or if we don't give a fuck about the Hullbreaker, but that is part of our infinite mana to put into the Walking Ballista. So
yeah,
it's something. But if you want to check a second 7 out, that's not a problem. So you want to check a second 7 out?
So hold on, let me make sure. Was there 2 lands in this hand?
There's only 1 land, but there's a Chromox.
Oh, okay. Maybe I didn't hear the Chromox.
Yeah, so I'll read it off one more time. It is Chromox, Rejuvenating Springs, okay? And our other mana sources are Wall of Roots and Fanatic of Ronus. When it comes to the other 3 cards in our hand, it is a Soulless Jailer, a Stax Beast, Ledger Shredder, Card Selection, and Hullbreaker Horror, which is one of our finishers with infinite mana to go to Walking Ballista.
I mean, honestly, it does feel nice, but realistic. I would keep. I would probably keep because I mean, like the Roxai is gonna do their Roxai thing, so I could do a turn 1 Soulless Jailer, pitching away the Wall of Roots probably.
That's super fair.
Pitching away the Wall of Roots.
Yeah.
Because like realistically, you can then like I said, Hullbreaker Horror is dead in hand, but then all of a sudden, like over the long game, you can be like Shifting Woodlands, Hullbreaker Horror,
right?
And they're like, oh, shoot! I'm like, okay, like Hullbreaker Horror.
Yeah, you could discard that Ledger that to the Hullbreaker to Hullbreaker Horror to Ledger Shredder, and now you just waiting to either draw Shifting Woodlands or crop rotation into it. So it kind of like that Ledger Shredder kind of makes the Hullbreaker feel like I'll switch it out with something later, starting on turn 2 if I can establish the anti breach lines with Soulless Jailer. I can follow it up with other stuff later. So it looks like a keep to me, but final decision. I'll let you choose. It's not up to TTC. What do you think, brother? We keep it or
no. Like I said, like we have it's not right. The Soulless Jailer would be the turn 1. Like it's not a piece of interaction. But I think it's fine. Like listen, if we lose to Roxai, we lose to Roxai.
It is what it is.
Like it also depends, where they.
It is what it is.
Like everybody mulliganing to Roxai. Like that's the thing. Everybody's mulliganing to Roxai. So like if Roxai is at like let's just say 6 cards in hand, chances are somewhere in that 6 cards is obviously turn 1 Roxai, piece of ramp, into like some form of game action, whether it's a wheel which I highly doubt it would be a wheel at that point.
Right.
But I mean, the Soulless Jailer should, in theory, mess with them a little bit.
It takes off a whole win line, I mean, for them, so yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're like one deadly relic away from like, get going.
You gotta make them have it at that point, because the cool thing about it is if when you and this is just my perspective, if you leverage your politics, how you've been saying like, hey, are you all mulligan responsibly? They can ask, yeah, if you are, and you be like, yeah, I am mulligan. I'm gonna keep this 7 right here, and so and then when it comes down to it, you drop that Soulless Jailer turn 1. You have another breach deck being Tim the Crom, and they're like, oh shit. And you'd be like, look, you asked me to play responsibly. This is me playing responsibly. I need you now to protect this Soulless Jailer. Even though it is a card that's stopping you, you can still win with Thassa's Tainted Pact, Thassa's Decon. You don't need breach to win. Rockside is going to be explosive. Let's get to the late game, and then we can talk about removing it. You know, like you talk about instant speed is king and removing instant speed. So I think this is a hand where I feel personally comfortable, like, drop it, and I know at least they're not going to do some Necro into Final Fortune BS then, and they may remove it, but then that's on my opponents. Now they have to waste mana if it's not a free spell, removing the Soulless Jailer, and that gives my opponents more interaction points to stop them, whether it's they have a fish to like to draw stuff, and so it doesn't feel like a bad keep to me, but like I said, final decision, talk to me, bro. Yeah.
No. It's like I said, it's good. Like once I kind of go through like the game actions in my hand, but like when I didn't hear a second mana source, I'm thinking I have a ton of 2-drops in my hand that I can't really cast. And I'm like, oh no, this is bad. And I'm like, no, wait. No, we can work with this. Like it's interesting.
Just a little bit.
Like we said, it's not like aside from the Hullbreaker Horror. Like aside from the Hullbreaker Horror, you don't have necessarily any dead cards.
Yeah.
But the Hullbreaker Horror is easily pitched. Like people are gonna be casting spells. I'm gonna get Ledger Shredder triggers. By the time it gets to my turn, going into 3rd turn rotation, I have a Ledger Shredder out. And then likely I'm casting and a Soulless Jailer. Like I'm casting Pride for 1 mana. And I'm most likely not missing land drops. Yeah, like I'm probably starting to pick away the vision that you just mentioned to Ledger to make it bigger.
Yeah.
And then just like I'm gonna connect and draw 6, 7 cards. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll keep this first 7. That looks good. All right. So far, we're good. Interesting. I do hear what you're saying on 30 lands, but only seeing 1 land. And we didn't mulligan super deep, but that is, I see what you're saying about like the whole land situation, even at technically 31 if you include Growing Rights of it, Lamach. It's still interesting, but still came out to be a very good because our red package supports it. So let's do another test hand. I'm gonna roll this D8 again. This time we have a 3, so we're going 2nd. Let's say in this 2nd pod we have Godo Bandit Warlord going 1st. You are going 2nd. Going 3rd will be, let's spice it up. Let's say it's a Master of Keys list, and going 4th will be an Atraxa Grand Unifier. Okay, so let's check out our first 7. Okay,
big attract.
All right. First 7 is Island, Walking Ballista, Soulless Jailer, Sink into Stupor, Birds of the Paradise, Eldritch Evolution, and Forgotten Ancient.
Oh hell no.
That's I agree.
Oh, no.
What the fuck we got? Ain't no green belly here.
God, no.
All right, is this an easy
Let's see
mode?
what the top deck was gonna be. Was it gonna be a Tropical Island?
No, let me know. You gotta let me know. Are we mulliganing it? I'll check top deck, but we gotta mulligan.
We're mulliganing this.
All right. Top deck would have been. Top deck would have been a Mystic Remora.
So another land.
No, top deck would have been a Mystic Remora, but top deck would have been a
like. This is what I mean. The deck does very good in top deck situations. Like it's really. It's silly.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
All right. No. I was gonna say like a top deck is a mystic, but we do have like a 4 mana spell with 1 green and Eldritch and the bird. So I wouldn't be mad. So let's check out a second 7. All right. Next 7 is Ancient Tomb, Forest, Vexing Bauble, Agatha Soul Cauldron, Mental Misstep, Wild Growth, and Managorger Hydra.
I really like the Mossborn. How many lands are in the hand?
We have 2 with Ancient Tomb and Forest, And we also, for interaction and stacks, we have Vexing Bobble and Act of the Soul Cauldron and Mental Misstep, notably a little bit of a clash a little bit with the Mental Misstep and Vexing Bobble. And then for ramp, we also have Wild Growth and Arcane.
No. So you can use Phyrexian mana to cast spells with Vexing Bobble.
As far as I'm aware, I do not believe, because it says whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana was spent to cast it, counter that spell. And when you pay Phyrexian mana, you're not paying mana. Yeah. So there is that little because it says if no mana was spent, and you're not spending mana, you're paying life with Mental Misstep.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, if I'm wrong in that, chat, let me know in the chat. Like, let me know if I'm wrong. TTC is not perfect, so if I'm wrong, call me out. But as far as I'm aware of this has a similar effect with other stacks pieces that shut off, like Lavinia. Lavinia that shuts off like Mental Misstep, Force Will, and everything, which is not the end of the world. But we're going second. Yeah, it says Papa Squad says that is correct. No mana was spent. So yeah. So it's a little bit of a clash, but you have options here.
Yeah. Honestly, like, because I'm so unfamiliar. Like, I would love to save this Mental Misstep for Godo. I just don't know what the heck the target for. Like, Godo just says count to 11, win the game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what I do? Like, stop. Like, what does a turn 1 Vexing Bobble do against Godo? It literally just shuts off. It borderline shuts off the Master of Keys from interacting with Godo, if anything.
Yeah, and now you're less likely to want to push the Managorger Hydra out, because then you won't have mana up to cast your own Mental Misstep or crack the Vexing Bobble. That is a thing. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. You said it was Mossborn, the landfall one?
Yeah, Mossborn Hydra. Yeah, whenever a land you control enters, double the number of +1/+1 counters on this creature.
Yeah. It's also, like, the thing is, Mossborn is a very good, like, it's a weird card in the deck, but the upside is so good. Like, it's more of a test play card in the deck, because realistically, it's better than the Scythe Cat, but, like, it asks borderline for like so much in return.
Yeah.
Even though the so much is literally you should play lands. Like and it's like so the fact that I don't have like a piece of ramp.
We do have Wild Growth.
Obviously
we got Wild Growth.
With 2 other lands, so you could do but like even you can do a turn 2 Mossborn Hydra that enters with a +1/+1 counter. That goes with your game plan, but then you're like kind of praying for top deck lands, preferably fetch lands. I just don't know what the Mental Misstep does to Godo. Like, I would keep it if I knew what a Mental Misstep did, but Godo is literally just count to 11.
Yeah, I think the only thing you're hitting here is maybe Mana Rocks or Ramp, so Rite of Flame, Mana Vault, or Soul Ring. Like, you would, if you can hit them there, that would slow them down astronomically. But if they go Ancient Tomb into something else, it may be a lost cause. Yeah, it depends. It depends. Yeah. It can be efficient, but you'd have to be aggressive with it. You couldn't wait for Godo. You'd have to be aggressive with it and be okay that the Master of Keys. Well, you do have Act of the Soul Cauldron for the Master of Keys player, so. With that being said, talk to me. How you feeling about this keep? How you think it's a keep, or do you think it's a mold?
Are we talking about for like fun play purposes or tournament purposes?
We're talking about you're trying to win the game. So like we can say tournament, but you're trying to win the game. Like, we telling the people like this is keep or this is mold. We're winning, trying to win the game.
I think I would mulligan this.
That's fair.
Again, it's more so about what, like, you're almost hoping for a top deck land, because Mossborn is literally a 1/1 for 3 mana if you don't get land. So it's like,
true.
Like, if that Mossborn was a Ledger Shredder, I'd be like, yeah, we're keeping this. We're good.
Right.
Or if it was like, if it was something that was definitely going to be getting bigger over time, where it's like you don't know if it's going to get bigger over time, but it can become a 32/32.
Sure. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
It's too unreliable to be like the backbone of your of your pride plan.
Okay, that's fair. That's very fair.
Well, literally, like, getting pride. Because until you get out pride, it's literally a 1/1, then a 2/2, then a 4/4, then an 8/8, and you're giving people like multiple turns to respond to like just say go away.
Right, 100%. That makes sense to me. Well,
yeah.
With that said, let's go check out a 6, okay? And the top deck for this one would have been a Into the Flood Maw, but we ain't got no blue mana either way. So let's check a 6 out. We have 4 lands, it being Misty Rainforest, Hedge Maze, Windswept Heath, and Sink into Stupor. Our interaction that we have is a Fierce Guardianship. Our ramp is a Boreal Druid, and our interaction that's free is an Endurance, which does something against a Master Keys if they try to push for a Turbo win, but I don't think Master Keys is going to push for a Turbo win. But yeah, how do you feel?
I would keep this, right? The lands we have, they get me 2 blue mana sources, right?
True. Yep. Misty Rainforest, Hedge Maze, and Sink into Stupor, and Windswept Heath. Oh yeah, all of them do get you blue. Yeah. I think I would keep. I honestly think I would keep this because that's a. I mean, it's more so the problem that Godo is the turn 1. So like, but if Godo's trying to present a turn 3 win, you got Fierce.
No. Yeah. If Godo's trying to present a turn 2 win, I can't really stop it. But anything past that turn, I have a Stupor to just be like bounce Godo.
Yeah.
Now you have a Helm of the Host and a Godo in hand.
Right, 100%. Yeah.
And I mean that, like, I'm pretty sure both the other players are like, all right, we can like try not to lose to Godo at this point, so I can play with my game plan in mind.
Yeah.
I think I would keep this. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, why not?
And so, with that being said, what land would you bottom then? We have a Hedge Maze, Windswept Heath, and a Misty Rainforest. Since we know we want to keep this Sink into the Stupor. Hedge Maze.
Oh yeah,
bottom
Hedge Maze.
Easy. Get out of here, Hedge Maze. You're out. All right. With that being said, let's see the top deck, and we draw a Noxious Revival, which is awesome because now our endurance is online, even though we push out that Boreal Druid. And so I think that was a solid keep. This is really awesome. Like at this point, all I have to say is like, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really excited to get into this gameplay and to see your version of the Pride of Whole Clade in action. And so before we let you go and we move on to the gameplay, is there any closing remarks that you would like to tell to the audience about the deck or about Politic or anything that you know is important to make this list viable and take the top 6 thing like you did?
Resolve a turn 2 Managorger Hydra. Resolve some important life totals. You do not want to come off as the I'm gonna curb stomp you people, because this deck cannot do this. You want to come off as the player who's like gonna be swinging your resources where they should be swung,
right?
If that's your game plan. Realistically, like you're never gonna be the player that like people are petrified to play against, because your deck can't do that until you attempt to draw multiple cards.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. Multiple cards. You ain't never say 15. I'm trying to draw multiple cards. Like, we always talk about 15.
Yeah, you know,
I'm trying to draw multiple cards.
Yeah, that's.
I love that. I'm not gonna lie. I have to give you. I love that. I love it. Like, I'm trying to draw multiple cards. What's the problem? He just got done drawing multiple cards.
I'm gonna draw cards, play Manadorks, possibly keep one piece of interaction. Like you can, if somebody puts a win on the stack, which some players are still gonna put a win on the stack. I tell people, I'm like, I don't play Force of Will or Force of Negation. Like, so, and then it's up to them to be like, oh, he doesn't play those cards. I'm like, oh, like, but I ain't gonna keep this blue mana open, or this like whatever it is. Like, I'm gonna keep it open. And you just gotta guess what I'm gonna use it for, really. But yeah, like as far as the deck, I think the deck is fairly simple. Once you start thinking out of the realm of like the simpleness associated with the deck, like then it starts to become complicated. But like, you know, obviously the big thing is, remember that you only have technically 2 infinite mana outlets. That's really it. If you want to count somebody as having a devoted druid, like I guess in a tournament setting, you can be like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna make sure this dude doesn't minus his devoted druid to death, and I'm just gonna play to a draw. You just tell the table, I'll play to a draw. right? And you cast your Machine God effigy, even though there's a player who obviously has the win in hand. But yeah, then like that's Magic Land. Like if that ever happens, I'm gonna come back on this channel and be like, bro, you won't believe what happened. Oh my god.
Got you. That makes sense. Okay. Well, I just want to say, hey, K-Man, aka Agent K, I appreciate you. I honor you. I'm thankful that you were able to break this down, and I love it even more because of the level of politics we were able to talk today, and just really like something that I love and that you've seen success for, and that I know I've seen success for as well. So there's only one thing I want to say to the audience, and that is, if you're looking for more ways to support the show, we have a plethora. Everything from our ThunderConductor community. Check us out. Link in the bio. We have free. We play games. We are jamming. Amazing brewing sessions as well. Just talking spoilers and just having a great time as a great community. But if you want extra perks like playing on our live streams, shouts on our YouTube videos and streams, and also free proxy discount codes, please check out link in the bio. Our Thunder Legion Patreon community. These guys rock. Every one of them is amazing. I want to give a huge shout out to our Mono Red patrons, Wavy Ashira, Bissy Baxton, The Praetor, B-Rad, and Sir Trekkie. They make all of this possible. Everything you see, this is all because of them. And so I just want to say thank you so much to the Mono Red patrons. And last but not least, if you say, hey T, I don't want the Patreon, the proxies, the perks, I just want to say one time for the fun time that I love what you do and I want to support you. Don't worry, I got you. Check the link down in the bio. You can buy me a coffee. It keeps me up, it keeps the lights on. But with that being said, thank you all for joining me for this Pride of the Whole Clade deck tech, and I look forward to seeing you in the gameplay. Peace.